Let me see what we have from Joe Rogan for today. Oh, he interviewed Lex Friedman. Okay, that's a good plan.
Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
So, Jamie, what was your question?
It was 2 Lex, but it was really like, because I wouldn't know.
Hardcore science question.
Yeah.
Based on physics.
Okay.
In theory, if you were in space and you maybe ejaculated, is it possible that the ejaculate would propel you backwards? Like send you, like, is it propulsion? Is there enough power in there to propel you?
There's only one way to find out.
It depends on how long you hold it in for, right?
Right,
Like if you didn't jerk off for like 4 months, and then you had like the mother load.
Still not. I mean, you need something to go one way, so you go the other way.
Yeah.
And Lex had an answer, but I don't know.
What's the answer?
What?
Or he had a thought, I guess.
What if you blow out at the same time?
Yeah. I think in space the biodynamics of the liquids is different. I think it's actually difficult to have sex in space, and to get people pregnant in space.
Has anybody ever gotten pregnant on the space station? Are they allowed even to have sex?
No, nobody is officially.
What is
had
this
sex
discussion,
in
man?
space?
Official.
What is this
But
topic?
unofficially, of course,
I wonder. I mean, how monitored are they?
there is a Wikipedia page about sex in space. It's actually pretty detailed.
But it's Wikipedia, so it's not bullshit.
There's citations. I encourage people to look into it, read in detail. I mean, it's a serious problem. If you want to, colonize space, you're probably going to have to do a lot of sex and get pregnant and have kids. And
Well, don't you think they'll develop some sort of gravity generating machine?
yeah, that's what you have. Like Jeff Bezos. Like how you create artificial gravity. Because for Jeff Bezos, the likely way to colonize space is a space station. You want to colonize the planet. Both are obviously very necessary. You need to have gravity in order to get first people to make that trip. Yeah, Daniel was saying.
I don't know about that. I mean, I'm a bachelor.
You go eventually? Oh, dude, why? What do you die on?
You're gonna die.
Everybody dies.
Yeah, but you don't want to die that way.
If you get to decide one way to die, that's not one of the worst
Oh,
ways.
it's the worst way. You're gonna die in space, running out of air.
You don't know what happens.
What about? You could just put. You get hit by a micro-meteorite.
Bro, what
Maybe
the
while you're
fuck was
asleep up
that?
there.
Could be.
Imagine standing on Mars, looking back at Earth.
Going, what the fuck did I do?
Yeah,
Why did I do this?
yeah, and then having kids on Mars and
Oh,
then
those
teaching
poor
them.
kids.
We came from there.
You think homeschooling's bad? How about space
Yeah,
schooling?
Just imagine the crazy shit that happened on Mars. I mean, it's going to be, what, 100,000 people?
Yeah, and so you're gonna get one psycho who's gonna run everything, and they're gonna take over.
Yeah.
Probably some cult leader convinces everybody to do it his way.
It's going to be a sex cult, 100%.
100%.
And we're back to sex in space.
Right, they're gonna say, like, listen, if Elon is their man, Elon wants to procreate every chance he can.
Mhm.
How many kids does he have now? Allegedly.
Double digits.
No, we don't even know how many.
Well,
Because they think he's got secret kids.
they think.
They? The fucking people that run the world.
Is there a Wikipedia page on
There
that?
probably is. He's probably got secret kids.
Kids.
Yeah. When you have, like, what does he have? Like $300+ billion?
Golly.
You can have a few ladies here, there, all over the place.
Yeah.
Having kids. There's a lot of ladies that just want to have kids. They don't want to have
Yeah. There's
especially when they get a little older.
there's a castle in the south of France with a harem just up in allegedly.
The land is a rocket ship.
Online, at least.
At least 12 kids. No one even knows. Imagine no one knows how many kids you have. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's the situation Genghis Khan was in. Yeah.
Well, he was doing it a little differently. He was a little bit more forceful.
Actually, I mean, there's a lot of different perspectives on it. Like what's the book on Genghis Khan? So first of all, there's obviously the Dan Carlin Wrath of the Khans, and in that series of podcasts, he criticizes the book. Jack Weatherford, Genghis Khan in the making of modern.
Yeah, so that's the there it is. Nice. That is one of the things that Dan Carlin talks about. That when enough time has passed, that they sort of look at these marauders and murderers in a different light and saying, "Oh, he opened up a tree in the east." Sure. Also, killed 10% of the population of Earth, lit people on fire, and launched them.
Hi
on
guys, and welcome to the channel. We're listening to the podcast and playing
Well,
POE 2.
I think,
As usual, that's a new tradition on this channel.
Makes a really good point.
I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, anything, just write me in the chat.
But you want to be historically accurate here, and Genghis Khan, there's a lot of trade, and including what was the protocol based on which he was doing murder. So it was very clear before the invasion. He always said you can surrender. Not anybody. You just have to follow the law. And the law was very, very clear. And it's basically enforcing a law of the land, free trade, free practice of religion, and you have to pay taxes instead of to your king. You have to pay taxes to the law of the land.
But did they really say we won't kill anyone?
Yes, 100%. That's they followed that. It's very well documented.
Really?
Yes.
So everybody could just lay down and 10% of the world's population wouldn't be dead? Really?
So the nuance there is that sometimes they kill the upper classes.
Mm-hmm. Well, didn't they kill the royals by like crushing them to death? They'd have lunch over them?
They were. Listen, this is a different time, but they were brutal.
Oh,
Because they want to, they use fear as part of the military tactics, right?
Yeah.
So they want people to be terrified, and they want to talk about how terrified the Mongol Empire is, so that they forfeit more easily.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of aspects of it. Not to say that Genghis Khan is a feminist, but there's a lot of progressive aspects. Like he put a lot of women in positions of power. He gave a lot of rights to women. This is a very strange perspective.
Yeah, but he did a lot of raping.
Nope, there's not his kids. What do
you mean, nope? When he would conquer these places, he would take women. And they would
in a
become his
harem.
new wives. Yeah, but
so-
it wasn't their fault. So that's
Yeah.
kind of rapey.
That's very rapey. So, but there's a
If you just fucking take them and make them have your kids.
there's the kind of mass rape that the Soviet soldiers did at the end of World War II when they're marching towards Berlin. It was extremely violent, vicious, and so that kind of rape was just part of the terror of war. And then there was like creating a harem of women, right? So it's a different. I think the main point is that we talk about that a large percent of the population that was studied like 20 years ago found our descendants. I think the way to do that is to make everybody who's your descendant popular within the culture. Like you can't have that many.
How to get that side of the map, bro?
Have your DNA propagate throughout civilization by raping. You have to have everybody who, to have a high status of people that are associated with Genghis Khan. So you can't have that kind of thing with fear. You can only respect high status. And he, for several generations, created an empire that was flourishing.
Okay, you kind of whitewashing that.
No, well,
They killed 1 million people in Jin, China, turned their bones into a stack, a pile that they recognized as snow-covered mountains from a distance. That's what they thought. When the Shah came there to check it out, he was like, where is everybody? They had abandoned the roads because there were so many dead bodies that the roads had deteriorated into muck.
Yeah, let me actually sort of backtrack a little bit here because I'm uncomfortable because I'm deeply involved in the military affairs of modern day. So there's a kind of, I was just kind of having fun. Yes, there was mass murder that was happening. It was vicious, and I'm not a scholar of Genghis Khan. I was simply saying that it's interesting how history looks at these different empires. For example, we venerate the Roman Empire. Not we, but ancient Greece. And they were equally, if not more, brutal in their conquests and their destruction. And
Yeah,
so
I mean, there's never really been a time where there was a leading superpower that wasn't brutal.
it's I think become less and less brutal over time, and people document this. So war, the number of people as percent of the population killed is less and less.
But what
There's more
about
laws?
Ukraine and Russia? Like, how many people have died all told between the two? It's got to be close to a million.
It's over 1 million casualties, which includes death and injuries, and the estimates vary, but I think a good estimate is over 400,000 total, maybe over
On both
500,000 on both sides. And the dead on the Ukraine side is probably 1/3 or 1/4 of the total dead.
Really? So
Much more
3/4 of them on the Russian side.
On the Russian
really?
side, yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
I think there's military scholars that understand this really well. I think, in general, the invading force loses more people than the defending force. That's one aspect. Of course, the Ukrainian military will say it's about the effectiveness of the Ukrainian military. And also, one of the
Let's
other
do
things they'll say
Citadel
is
this time around, right?
the medical capabilities. So the medics are really strong on the Ukrainian side, which is also tragic because you're able to save lives, but you have the injuries, the pain of war, that the veterans have to go through.
Right.
So they're able to save lives more effectively also. But,
Right.
But there is a big characteristic of the invading force usually loses more people.
What was it like going over there and interviewing Zelensky?
So exalted.
So as I said, I went
I don't want to risk it, bro.
after February 24th, 2022 invasion, and
Can get nasty pretty easy.
good for me to also say where I come from because it's surreal to be there.
Sure.
Both my parents are from Ukraine, from Kiev and Kharkiv. These are towns and cities in Ukraine. I've been there many times. I myself was born in Tajikistan, speaking of Genghis Khan. And I lived there in Tajikistan. And by the way, I'm regretting defending Genghis Khan in this conversation for fun.
You didn't really defend.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that over and over again. War is hell. And I'm almost tension between how much Roman Empire, Caesar, and these folks venerated, and Genghis Khan is seen as this barbarian that was just destroying and raping and so on. They were all horrible, vicious warmongers.
All of it. Yeah.
Anyway, Tajikistan, and I lived for a time in Kiev, and I lived for a time in Moscow. I have family in Ukraine and family in Russia. And so, and I should say in World War II, a lot of my family was slaughtered in Babi Yar, which is a ravine in Kiev, where they gather people around Nazis, and they just put them in this ravine and just shot them, put another layer of human, get naked, lay face down, and slaughter. It's mass graves, mass slaughter. And my
I think we
grandfather
cleared this part.
fought the Nazis. He's a machine gunner. He's one of the few that survives. Which is the reason I'm here. That they basically tried to hold off the Nazi armada. And that the surreal aspect of all this is the same land. I just remember the song.
Good.
4 часа Киев бомбили, нам объявили, что началась война. It's 22nd of June. The bombing at 4 a.m. The bombing of Kiev began. This is in 1941. June 22nd. Just imagine complete surprise. Just the Nazi armada, just coming. Operation Barbarossa, this massive military force invading your land. It's Kiev. The greatest, biggest battles of all time were in this land. The Battle of Kiev, the Battle of Stalingrad, the Battle of Moscow. We're talking about hundreds of thousands, millions of people just slaughtering each other. And the way Hitler, of course, approached the battle, and so did Stalin, is nobody surrenders. It's all in. Slaughter. It doesn't matter if it's winter, it doesn't matter if there's no guns, it doesn't matter. It's just victory or death. So it's food or war. And so this is the land, right? This is, and I have, for a lot of people in this land, this history is part of them. It's part of their blood. They remember these struggles. They remember this political, this geopolitical, this military, this social. This is real. This is like, imagine it's because you said, imagine the United States living maybe after the Civil War. You remember the you have relatives that died. You remember the real hatred, the real tension, the real battles. So, yeah, it was surreal to be back there and to try to do what I was doing, to push for peace. Since there's probably a lot to say about this war, I should say that I interviewed Vladimir Zelensky, and I will be traveling to Russia to interview.
So guys, whoever's watching, please, if you enjoying the stream, drop a like, share the stream, drop a sub if you've never done that before, and happy to have you here. If you have any questions or anything, just write in the chat. I will reply instantaneously.
That's what I was trying to do in this conversation. And it required just a huge amount of preparation. For people who don't know, maybe I'll lay out where there was opportunities for peace. So since the beginning of the war, February 24th, 2022, I think there was 3 moments to make peace. From the perspective of Ukraine, you want to make peace from strength. So when you're in a position of strength. The first time to make peace was March and April of 2022, when the Ukrainian forces were able to successfully defend the north, defend Kiev. There was this huge optimism, this belief that would push back this gigantic Russian military. That's a place for leverage, and the confidence both of the U.S. funding, the European militaries, and the Ukrainian military that we can win this. This is when you make peace, when there is a perception and the reality of strength. The second time was in the fall of 2022, when there was a successful counteroffensive by the Ukrainian forces that recaptured Kharkiv and the south. And there was this real sense that we could, that the Ukrainian forces can defeat the Russian forces. Huge optimism. A lot of
almost cleared all the map,
make peace then.
but we continue
This is
pushing.
the strength and perhaps the weakness of Vladimir Zelensky, who I do think is a historic figure and a great leader, is that he, one, deeply emotionally feels the suffering of the people and the loss that we're experiencing. And he single-handedly has to unite the nation and carry the will of a people and the morale of a people. He has to lift the morale of a people. And that kind of man struggles to move. Because he understands he wants justice, not peace. And so from a position of strength there, he wants to go further, recapture all of the land that he sees belongs to Ukraine. But that's exactly when you make peace. And so his very strength, the man that stayed in Kiev, that said, fuck you. We're not going to, we're going to win this. That kind of man that lifted the whole nation, that united the whole nation, that man is also struggling. And so the third time, after all of that, the Russian military regrouped and has been capturing gradually. So the third time to make peace is now. The Trump administration, there's a momentum. They want to make peace. He's a great leader who wants to end wars in all parts of the world.
He's made the deal in Gaza now.
Made the deal in Gaza, and that's a super complicated situation too, because they made a ceasefire deal with the hostages, but
Isn't it that the Biden administration had 2 years, couldn't get anything done, and Trump gets it done. He was saying that he was going to be able to do it, and everybody dismissed it.
yeah, and I think there's a political battle now taking credit for who made the ceasefire, which I think is silly. It's
Of course it's going to happen. Biden is the president. He's still the president for another few days.
the point is, with Donald Trump, there's a real will and a momentum to make peace. There's a
Very
respect,
easy, as you
fear,
can see.
there's,
Just one shot.
whatever you think about Donald Trump, he is this person that world leaders respect in the full meaning of the word respect. Not like admire, but fear. I think both Zelensky
And that's it. Pretty much.
great
Still have like 4 elites left, so we're gonna get them.
all of them believe Zelensky.
Nice.
And he probably would, but he doesn't want to.
Right, he
This is
doesn't
the
want to.
difference.
But-
That's a very unique position that he's in, where they're afraid of him, but yet he wants peace.
I don't have space, right?
And so this is the time.
Yeah, and I'm
If
so
you don't
full.
make
Let
peace
me
now,
just
it's going to happen
drop everything what I don't need
from
and come back
US.
for more
The
loot.
support from the U.S. is going to dwindle
'Cause
gradually,
this one was good.
and Putin is willing and able to just wait and to let the war continue for months and for years. And
88
meanwhile,
springs, armor,
people are dying every single day.
maximum life.
Thousands of people. And
What's horrible about this war too is there's GoPro footage.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cell phone footage. There's a lot of GoPro footage. I've watched too much of it, unfortunately. But it's rough, man. It's a horrible war, and it's a war that's so confusing over here, for especially to the uninitiated. For the people that are just like kind of reading the newspaper and getting it's like sort of a cursory understanding of what happened. Russia invaded. Why? What'd they do? And then you got to get into the whole U.S. backed coup in 2014, and then you have to think about NATO and the agreement that was made the fall of, when the wall came down in Berlin. The agreement that NATO would not push forth and move closer to Russia, which they violated over and over and over. But the whole thing is so complicated that it takes forever just to sort of get an understanding of the pieces
I
that are
don't get
involved.
close to that
Forget
shit.
about who's responsible for what, but it's like how many different things are happening, simultaneously that are forcing Putin's hand, now Zelensky's hand, and it's just, to be on this side of the world watching it take place, it's almost unbelievable. It's so hard to believe that Russia and Ukraine, which were both part of the Soviet Union, just not that long ago, while during my lifetime, now they're at war.
And I should say that I believe
Bro,
So how do you-
oh, he almost killed me. That was
I believe
close.
the U.S. actually gave not enough money to Ukraine. They should have given more money, hit really hard, and then make peace. This is the point.
Hey,
A
we
month or
got
two
this.
After the start
That's
of the
good.
war, you can learn the same kind of lesson with Iraq and
Okay,
Afghanistan.
we drop this
There's no
down.
reason those invasions.
Nothing
those
special on
military
this
operations-
one.
no other
Could
way.
be good.
There's no other way than just give money. Give money.
If it
and
gets
hit
physical
hard. There's
damage
no other
scaling,
way.
it could be really expensive.
What
Let me
about-
see.
What?
What
Avoid
about-
it. Avoid
What
it.
about
yeah,
this
what
one?
about having
Fire
NATO
resistance,
back
lightning
out?
resistance could be good. Do we craft those?
Well,
We just
a lot of
break
this is
that
about
one,
diplomatic rhetoric. And yes, NATO
break
was
that
consistently
one,
talking
and we
shit to
craft
Putin.
the rest and see
And
what
that's
we can
not-
get out of
Like a
them.
lot of this is about diplomacy,
Right.
and you can't just
Okay.
you can't just pressure
Fire,
with
lightning.
words. I mean, for some people, it seems almost silly that you need to show respect to world leaders, but there needs to be shown real respect. Putin
That's
has
interesting.
laid out the interest of the Russian Federation. He said he's been very clear about what the interests are. They want their security to be respected. They want their nation to be respected. He's very clear. And simply at the negotiation table, he just needs to be respected. Like, his perspective needs to be understood and heard. You can't just say Putin is evil, bad guy, authoritarian, hates freedom. We need to destroy him. This whole vibe and energy that come with this idealistic sense that you bring to the table. You have to respect leaders. You have to respect Xi Jinping. You have to respect Putin when you're at the negotiation table. Not when you're on Twitter and X or talking shit or
Actually,
historians or activists. Fine,
Lex
you can
here
criticize
talks gold, guys.
as
Just
much as
listen
you
to
want,
him.
as vicious as you want. You can mock.
He's really
artists
smart
can
guy.
mock as much
I
as
love
you
him
want,
so much.
comedians, doesn't matter.
One of my
When you're a world
favorite
leader, when you come
podcasters
to the
ever.
table, you have to show respect. You have to treat other world leaders, as funny as this to say, the way you want to be treated, with respect.
It's not funny at all. Yeah, makes sense.
And it,
If you
know,
want to get things done.
if you want to get things done, and more importantly, if you want in this war for the death to end, one of the things I kept pushing in an almost childlike way with Zelensky is getting him to open himself up for peace, because he kept shutting it down. He kept mocking Putin. He kept criticizing Putin, which is okay. It's okay to sort of criticize and say that there's war crimes, that there's
Oh, there's another
real,
citadel here, bro. Can we
vicious
get there?
violence and destructions happening.
Somehow, probably from here.
Along that,
Yeah.
there has to be a door open of respect.
You have to go
of,
this,
I'm willing
this,
to come to
this,
the table
this,
to
this.
negotiate
5 maps.
and respect the other nation's interests, as opposed to saying I'm only going to talk to the United States. You have to be open to negotiate, because unfortunately, this is the motherfucker of peace. Is you have to compromise.
What
You have to
words,
sit
guys?
across the table
Guys, whoever
as
is
a world
watching,
leader.
thank you for being
The
here.
person
Please
who's
drop a like to the stream, man. Share it. And sub to the
Because
channel.
Unlike Putin,
And you can
said,
check my channel for
Zelensky
lots of
goes for the
videos
fight.
and content I do.
He talks to the
Hopefully you
soldiers.
like it.
He sees the dead bodies. He talks to the civilians, the mothers
So yeah.
that lost their children, the wives,
You do your
that
part,
lost their
I'll do
husband,
mine.
right? This person who's an empath, who's an emotional being, he's wearing all that in his mind. Like, there's a real pain there. Like, he's tortured, tormented by this. If you're a leader, you have to put all that aside, and you have to sit and save your nation by compromising. That's it. And that's the hard thing of it. Especially now there's an opportunity where the Trump figure rolls in who wants to make peace. You have to use this opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's very, very tough.
Oh, I'm frozen and probably dead.
What do you
No,
think Trump
I
can
survived
do
it.
when he gets an what could possibly, if Zelensky wants victory, they want revenge,
That was
what
close.
can Trump do to sort of like bring peace to the table?
I think some of these notions sound naive, but literally meet, which they haven't been meeting. So meet with Putin, meet with Zelensky.
They haven't been meeting at all.
No. So Zelensky, now, they've been meeting with Zelensky, but there was no meeting with Putin. I think the right thing to do is to go to whether it's Switzerland or Turkey, Istanbul, or Minsk, and like the biggest thing for me would be literally the three of them sit together.
Fortune favors me.
I think I trust in
Oh,
Trump's
exalted.
negotiation ability, and
Oh, there is a boss on this
the
map. Okay.
carrot and the stick of the United States military and the United States economy for being able to control oil prices, being able to control trade, tariffs, being able to threaten military force and funding and so on, plus sanctions, all of this. You can roll in with that carrot and stick, implied or made implicit or explicit, and just sit at the table and talk like human beings and show each other respect. Like that, you know, is one of the things that actually COVID did. There's something that happens where remote communication just is not it. Like the silly thing about this podcast being in person, right? There's a real power there. Everything else is, you know, like fucking with a condom. Like
Yeah.
you have to show up.
I
It's
like,
part of
I
leading.
like that phrase. Fuck him as the condom.
Jerking off
It's not even fucking good.
the metaphor, yeah. It's part
It's
of the
nice,
reason I
man.
wanted to talk to President Zelensky in Russian, because he speaks fluently. And he speaks fluently. It's his primary language. So people seem to misunderstand this on the internet. He spoke Russian his whole life. That's his main language. He speaks it with his wife, with his whole staff, with all of this. This is his language. It's just that now the Ukrainian language has become a symbol.
Oh, fun fact.
for their
What's
fighting
up,
for
man?
their independence, for their sovereignty. I understand it, but
I think same of you.
So he spoke.
I don't have any damage issues, bro.
we kept going back and forth. But yeah, most of the powerful things were said in
It's just
Ukrainian,
huge.
so I'm listening to an
I
interpreter,
one-shot
which
all
he
the bosses in the
had to say,
game.
the interpreter's not, forgive me.
And I don't know what's wrong with your builds. It's probably the trample toe shoes which you're wearing, bro. You need like a little bit more of
Yeah, this was
overpowered damage scaling.
Yeah.
See, he's dead.
He's the leader of a nation at a time of war, and he's
Good.
not stylistically who he is. Like, he's all in. This is like a Braveheart type character.
Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the
But
NFL.
I hate when Joe Rogan
Scoring
does
touchdowns
this,
is key to winning the playoffs, and you can score big
commercials.
by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to
If we
score
do
6.
steaming
Go to
springs, then we need to
DraftKings
do
Sportsbook app
4
and make
more
your
to
pick.
get here than
New
here and
DraftKings
probably get
customers
to this
can bet
citadel.
$5 to
I
get
really want to do the second
$200
one
in
too
bonus
today.
bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code ROGAN. That's code ROGAN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New
Let's
York,
do that.
call
I'll be back in a second,
877-8-HOPE-NY
boys.
or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In
Oh.
Connecticut, help is available for a problem
We'll just
gambling.
get
Call
something to drink and we'll be back. See you soon.
888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Which is so crazy because he started his career as a comedian.
Right. I mean, you never know. You never know who the leaders are that step up. I think, a lot of people sort of say that it's trivial that he stayed in Kiev when the Russian military invaded. To me, it's not trivial at all. I think that's a truly heroic act to stay when nobody knows what's going to happen, and all the experts are saying Kiev is going to be taken. To stay as a leader in that same place where you were the night before, like working, and not flee when the CIA, everybody's telling you to flee. To stay there like a bad motherfucker and actually go outside and film yourself speaking to the nation that we're going to win this. We're going to hold strong. That's an insane thing to do. And maybe it does require, like, it's a Trump level insanity, right? It's similar to me to the Trump standing up when there's still bullets flying and saying fight, 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 right? That's where does that come from? I don't know.
I'm
But
back.
most
Let's
people
go.
don't have that.
Right.
And it's nice when it was refreshing. It was
I don't see
refreshing
any
to see
likes,
that. Like,
Yeah.
holy fuck, yes.
any shares. What the
I
fuck?
want that guy.
Yeah.
And he really united a nation. The nation was fractured. He was actually not popular at all up to that war because the policies he was trying to working.
What policy specific?
So so the stuff that was working, I don't know the internals of the Ukrainian politics that well, but so he won in 2019 based on his desire to fight corruption and to modernize the Ukrainian digital system, which he did very successfully. It's actually super interesting. You can they have an app called Dia, which your passport, all your identifications, all appified, which I don't understand why the United States doesn't have that. You can update your license, you can get your license like instantly. So it's like the 21st century version of what government should work.
Oh boy, the
The
game is
reason they did
lagging
that
like
is
crazy
it's a
now.
way to fight corruption. It's a way, like, whenever you have paperwork, there's a place for corruption. So he was very serious about fighting corruption. And that's the other thing. There is corruption in Ukraine. There's not as much as people see. But it's a serious problem.
Is
Especially
it less now than before?
what I see. I want to be careful here because I don't like. It's very difficult to know the perception. There's a serious concern about corruption. In a time of war, there's always going to be more corruption. The United States spent $9 trillion on the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. After 9/11, on that part of the world, they spent $9 trillion. Using all that money, you've had a lot of guests on this program talking about how that money was used. There's a lot of shady shit that happened.
Oh, yeah.
War breeds corruption. This is one of the reasons you should be concerned about the military-industrial complex, is because that money is just not used well.
Right.
But that's all. That's a discussion. The reality of corruption in Ukraine is it should be dealt with after the elections. All the problems. The elections were suspended. The ideas of democracy. There is censorship in Ukraine now.
Yeah, there's
All of
nothing
those
here
ideas
for us for now.
cannot be. All of those things cannot be fixed until the war is ended. The reason there is censorship in Ukraine is because it's a war. Like, you can't. The ideas of democracy, in part, have to be suspended during a war to effectively fight that war. This is the whole idea of martial law. The United States has this. You don't fuck around. You have to win the war. When your land is invaded, you have to. Everybody has to be focused on it. The problem is it's slippery slope. When all the media channels are being controlled, and the president and everybody's so invested in quote unquote winning the war, then where are the critical voices that say we need peace? Right? They're coming from the outside, but you need that. The thing is, it's a really complicated tension. Right? You don't during the
All the
war
way up here.
with martial law, you do want to suspend elections potentially. It's a really difficult trade-off. The United States has the same thing. If we were to be invaded, I don't know by who. This is not Canada invaded. I don't want to make a joke out of this, but there's going to be a
Quick fight.
yeah, exactly. But like there would be a martial law where elections would be delayed and suspended and so on. So all those criticisms, all those concerns can only be dealt with once you make peace.
Yeah.
And in terms of corruption, just there's a lot of people that know he wants to be well, and this has been my impression having met him. I don't think and I've not heard anybody that knows him well say that he's personally corrupt. And this is
Really not good, man.
like he himself is not personally corrupt, and he legitimately started corruption. Now he's in a system that has corruption. Russian corruption. It's really difficult to read on corruption, but he legitimately, at least to me, that's really important. That he is a significant human being, and the people really close around him, like really close. That's corruption starts to seep in, of course, when you go further out. But in that direct human being, that he is not personally corrupt. He, like financially speaking, he singularly believes in the idea of Ukraine as a sovereign nation, and he's willing to die for that idea. That is his strength, and that is also his weakness when it's time to make peace.
When you are preparing to do something like this, and you are, you're doing your research, you're getting ready to go do it, what are your concerns, other than your own physical safety, of course, but like, what is your, like, ultimately, what's your concerns, what are your goals when you're setting out to do this? Because this is very different than any other kind of podcast interview. It's
Yeah, what
there's
do we
no
break
other
down?
format,
Yeah, this
really,
could be good.
where a world leader in the
Light
middle
resistance,
of a
rarity.
huge international conflict is going to sit down for 3 hours and talk to an American scientist, which is weird too. right? It's like, why are you doing it? You know what I mean? Like, why this guy who works in AI just decides he's going to start a podcast. The podcast becomes very successful, and all of a sudden he's like, I'd like to talk to everybody. I'd like to go over and talk to Zelensky and talk to Putin. And
Let me see if
like,
I can
why you?
craft
What the fuck are
something
you
valuable
doing?
out of it.
So you get a lot of that,
Yeah.
and then unfortunately
and
for you,
we'll
you
craft
read
the rest.
comments, so you
Let me
get
see.
sucked into all that negativity.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say there. First of all, on the comments side, I always have a little Joe Rogan on my shoulder saying, don't read the comments.
Don't read the comments.
And in this situation, it's especially intense.
Didn't get any speed boost. Okay.
I should say, like, privately, after I did the conversation with Zelensky, every single person that knows the situation well, knows me personally, has written to me, and it's all been really positive. Like, really positive. Almost like in the desert, wanting water positive. Because there's a lot
95
of
to
voices
9.
that are afraid to speak, that want
I don't
peace.
believe this
Sure.
prices, but yeah, okay.
But online, this is something we talked about offline a little bit. There's just like these like swarms of people that are like.
Not even necessarily people.
That's I don't want to sort of go too far in that territory, assuming that anybody who criticized me is a bot.
No, no.
But there
I'm
is
not
a
saying that, but there's an enormous element of that that's real. Whether it's bots or whether it's hired people, paid propagandists, the conversation is not a pure conversation between people expressing their ideas. There's a lot of propaganda
shield,
online, and it's very
Facebook
confusing
chance.
to try to discern what the
I
percentage
don't know.
is.
I think it got nerfed.
You know, we've talked about this
Yep.
a bunch of times in the podcast, but there was a former FBI analyst who estimated that it's on Twitter alone. This is before the purchase. He believed it was around 80%. So 80% fake accounts. 80% not just propaganda, like government propaganda, but most certainly corporations are hiring people to do similar things. I'm sure there's companies that will do that for public figures, actors,
What is that?
you know,
Rarity.
people that are involved in conflict.
Oh, let's do that.
This is part of the Blake Lively dispute, is that she's accusing that Justin Baldoni actor of an organized attack on her, which is probably what it feels like anyway when you're involved in something on social media, like, oh my God, this is organized, or they're attacking you. But it's a very confusing landscape. You know, ideally, what we would want with social media is different people, informed and uninformed, but at least expressing their ideas on things and exchanging information back and forth and talking. It's not the whole story, though. There's a lot of other players involved that are not real. There's AI for sure. There's definitely large language models that are involved in this back and forth with, you know, automation. And, you know, they look out for certain code words, and these accounts attack certain ideas. So it's hard to know like what the actual will of the people is.
Yeah, it's definitely true. And I've seen a lot of evidence of this, that there's Ukrainian bot farms and Russian bot farms.
Have you spoke to Elon about this? Yeah, because like he knows a lot more now, of course, right? Because there was the big concern when he was buying Twitter. They were trying to say that it was 5%. It was only 5% bots, and they were doing that on an extremely low sample size. They were doing it off of 100 people. So they got 100 people, and out of those 100 people, 5 of them turned into bots, and so they went with 5%, which is just ridiculous. You know, you're dealing with how many people are on Twitter every day? Like, what's the total Twitter audience? It's not as big as Facebook, right? Facebook is 3.2 billion worldwide, which is unbelievable.
I think X is a smaller number, but very influential and very active, yeah.
Very active, very influential. 245 daily active. What is the total amount of accounts on it, though? Because, you know, there's daily active, and then there's just people that just read them. There's a lot of them. 541.56 million monthly active users. So again, that's active users. So total users. That's the total users. See, it's all active. I want to know accounts.
That's the only. I don't. they delete counts all the time.
Right. Yeah, they definitely do. So they must have some sort of a system where they weed out bots. And, you know, there's a lot of concern right now on Twitter. I try to stay out of Twitter as much as I can.
Mark asks,
honestly,
"Hi, can I see your
'cause I
rings?
think it's bad
And
for
are
your
you
mental
using
health.
Ingenuity?"
I
Ingenuity.
really do.
Hi Mark, yeah, you can see
People
my
just
rings and I'm using
Barking at each
Ingenuity,
other all
of
day
course.
is not good to
We need
absorb.
also
I wanna
helm
absorb real
for
people that I
the
interact with. I
build to
want to-
work.
I mean, I try to pay attention
So
to
the more we
news, I
chill, the
try
more we
to,
kill,
pay
basically.
attention to
And
whatever
another one is
controversial
just a
ideas are
breaching,
out
which I
there and
crafted
try to
myself.
see what I think.
Mostly damage,
I don't
resists,
think it's good to
I don't know,
dive in
intelligence,
to social media
something.
all day. I think
Nothing special about those.
uniquely bad.
I mean, it's pretty
And
simple
I think
build,
so many
to be
people are
honest.
involved
And
in it, and they don't realize
Ingenuity
that
just
they're
with
poisoning
50
their
or
brain,
60%
just
is
like
more
they
than
poison their
enough to
body for eating junk
kill the
food all
damage.
day. I think it's
Bot Rick said,
genuinely
"Thank you
bad
for the
for you.
follow, Mike."
Yeah, I
M."
mean, and
Thank
you
you for
and
the
I
follow, Mike, by the way.
and also in a
And welcome to the channel.
you know, doing a podcast, and we're also very different human beings. I would say your psychological
Clear.
fortitude is pretty strong. Like, and I'm more, I wear my heart on my sleeve maybe a little bit more, and when if I like shit gets to me.
Mark said,
And-
"Thank you."
You're all welcome.
And,
If
you
you
know,
have
when you
any
try to
more
put
questions, please drop
passion
by.
out there, the way I did, especially with this conversation with Zelensky, the attacks, like,
You just have to recognize who the kind of people that are doing that are. You know, those are just really weak people. Really weak, psychologically damaged, mentally ill people that are probably medicated.
Is
sort of
somebody
push back, I
sharing
think
that much or what?
some of them are actually good, sophisticated people. They're just acting not their best selves. Like, I've seen this. There's people that are
Yeah.
like, I know that
Man.
person, and online they just
Want to finish this map, bro? Where are the elites?
Well, because they're mentally
Ooh, what was that explosion?
then all of
I
us
almost
are very
died.
mentally ill.
Oh, I
Yeah,
almost
we're all a
died.
little mentally
Holy shit.
ill. Like, no one is enlightened that I've met.
Yeah,
I've never
no.
met one person who's perfect, right? I don't think it's possible with this journey that we're on as these meat vehicles, these soul-carrying
What was the damage?
navigating a very
From what?
confusing world. I don't think it's possible to be perfect,
Good.
but you can have a desire to be a good person.
Bro, there
and
is
some
so
people
many
don't have
random
that.
things happening.
The excuse that
The
they always
damage
use
taken upon you. You can
is,
just die
most
instantaneously and
people
never
don't
know
have
what
an
happened.
excuse. Do
I hate
anything
that.
You can to stop Hitler.
I hope they can
You know,
tune this
right?
somehow.
This is why they want
Later
to
on.
and they always want to pretend that everyone's Hitler. The problem with that is it just after a while it's crying wolf and people are like, oh, this is a bullshit game you're playing, and you're just using it as an excuse. Elon's talks about this a lot about, and he's absolutely correct. Is that people use woke ideology?
Oh, the game
as
is
an
lagging. No,
excuse to
no,
be an
no, no,
asshole.
please don't.
And
Please
it's
don't.
really
It's
just
the end
people
of the
that are
map.
assholes that are attaching themselves to things that make them feel righteous, and so they wrap themselves in this idea to
Yeah,
give
let
them
it chill a
virtue
bit.
and to allow them to say the
Bro,
most
the
awful
game is
things
lagging. There's
about
huge
other
delay.
people that have different perspectives, and then just by nature, if you're doing that, you're doing the wrong thing. You're a bad person. You can justify it all you want. You can
Yeah,
find
just
people
kill
that
'em.
agree with you all you want.
Please die.
But those people also are on the right track, or the wrong track rather. The people that are listening to you and agreeing with you, they're on the wrong track. They're the wrong track.
Did
if
I
you
survive
want
it?
to be
I don't know. The
collective,
game's lagging.
A kind,
Oh shit, just
compassionate,
run away.
cohesive society, a community
Please.
of human beings that all live together.
Use the
That's
portal.
totally possible. If you can do it in small
Oh,
groups of
let's get
people,
out.
you can do it in enormous groups of people. It just has
Damn,
to
bro,
be
the
an
game
ethic
lags sometimes
that
when
gets
there's so
promoted.
many things
It
happening
has
on
to
the
be
screen.
something
That's
that
so annoying.
You see people that you admire adhere to, and
I
you
don't
do
know
it
if
as
it
well.
was the case in
Whenever someone
POE 1, but it's case in this
goes
one.
outside of that, and whenever someone starts
I think we got really good stuff in
unfounded
here.
personal attacks because someone has a different political ideology, or
Oh yeah,
you know,
all
just
fire
going after them
resist,
every
maximum
day,
life,
all day
energy
long,
shields,
like, you're just broken.
one
You're
divine.
just- you're on the
Holy
wrong
shit!
path,
But nobody's
period.
going to
And
buy it because it doesn't have movement
Intelligent,
speed, right?
aware people that have control of their emotions recognize that, and they're not going to take your perspective
Plus
seriously. So
10
you're gonna be
divines.
less
I'll
and
leave
less
it for
effective
8.
with what you do.
I don't have space.
And in general,
That's
the
amazing.
failure mode
I need
is
to break
to
some
paint the
stuff
world
which is not salt.
to draw a line between good and evil.
Yeah.
Whether it's a line in geography, Russians, Putin is evil, or if it's Trump, Trump
Mhm.
is evil.
Lightning
Right.
The version
fire,
of that is Hitler. So I'm
Yeah.
skull
a big
damage.
proponent of Solzhenitsyn's
Okay.
famous, the author of
70 is
Gulag
nothing.
Archipelago. that the line between good and evil runs through the heart of every man. That all of us have that in us, and
Yes.
it is good to be humbled by that reality. And if you are humbled by that reality, then you're not going to see any other people as purely evil or purely good. All of that kind of thing is used to hate others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sulfur
And even when it's
caverns.
unfounded. You know, even like I'm watching the Pete Hegseth, the confirmation hearings, and these ignorant people are going after his tattoo, not even knowing what the tattoo is, and trying to pretend that it's some sort of radical, hateful tattoo when it's just an ancient Christian tattoo. It's so strange. I mean, that tattoo's in churches. That symbol's in churches. That symbol's been around for a long fucking time. It's just a Christian tattoo. And I was watching the Pierce
What is
Morgan.
Joe talking about, bro? I didn't
Pierce
get it.
Morgan had Michael Knowles and these two super whack, and Dave Rubin and two super wacky leftist people that didn't know what the tattoo was, and they were criticizing it. And Pierce Morgan kept like, "What is the tattoo? What is it? Tell me what it." And the guy would like, "Go on. You're not answering the question. Go back to it. What is it?" And he, "Well, let's look it up." He's like, "No, don't look it up. I want you to tell me if you're saying it's offensive." And so then the woman chimes in, and Michael Knowles just clowns her, just absolutely knows the history of the tattoo, including, like, you know, she's talking about it before, it existed before Islam, you know, and she's criticizing what it is. And he was like, do you understand that Islam didn't exist when this tattoo, when this symbol existed? Like, it's not an anti-Muslim symbol, because there was no Muslims when this symbol was created. Like, this is bonkers. And they are all in, digging their heels in, pretending, just trying to win this conversation, just trying to win. And Pierce Morgan's doing that. He's like the Jerry Springer of political ideology. He just has people get on the show and yell at each other. It's very entertaining, and he gets great sound bites out of it. It's kind of genius in terms of like an engagement perspective. If you looked at your show as just like, how do I get more engagement? Well, that's how you do it. You get some wacky leftist going to say nutty things. You get some right-wing person that's going to say nutty things, and you get them all together yelling at each other.
I wish he did less of that. I should say that Pierce Morgan is a great interviewer. Like, he's legit a great interviewer, but he also he can put on his Jerry Springer hat on too.
He's making money. Listen, I mean,
he does both. He does do long-form great interviews. But
he's found his lane. His lane is Jerry Springer. But he's doing a good job exposing these people. It's very valuable. Like, that conversation was very valuable for me. Because like, this is adorable. Watching this guy like flounder around trying to come up with a reason why this tattoo is so offensive.
Yeah, but see, what I don't like about that is that guy's floundering, but there could be actually facets to that person outside of this ridiculousness that's interesting.
Right, but you gotta cleanse that from your mind, son.
They do.
If you wanna be the guy who's on television talking about important issues, and you've got this stupid thing in your head where you're arguing about a tattoo that you don't even understand, you gotta cleanse that stupidity out of your fucking mind. And sometimes the best way to do that is to get clowned on television.
Sure.
So he got exposed. She got exposed. They both look like morons. And then Michael Knowles, who did a fantastic job of like smiling, never raising his voice,
we need to go left then.
calmly explaining it. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
See if you can find it, Jamie. It's pretty wonderful. Michael Knowles is a pro. He's a pro. The way he handled it was remarkable. Yeah, I know people criticize.
Oh, we
guy,
got 2 elites and the boss
fucking
on the
people
map. That's
criticize
awesome.
everybody. I'm just saying, in this moment,
Load
Don't read
that.
the comment, Joe.
yeah, don't read the comments. Yeah. Yeah, even about other people, right?
Well, this is the thing. I think you said that you sometimes read comments from friends of yours. Like,
Yeah, I don't even like doing that. I try not to do that too.
This is the thing that bothers me. I don't read them, but like, I don't know. My mom will read them, and she'll text me something like, "Don't listen to what people say. It's okay."
My mom will send me things. Is this true? I'm like, Mom, come on.
This is the clip.
Yeah.
Let's one-shot this boss too, huh? What do you say?
This is wonderful. Watch this. The two people on the far right of the screen, the lady in the big jacket, they got cooked.
You could accuse Pete of as being too alert and energetic.
That's
I
it.
found it overwhelming, actually, while I was there, tired, trying to dust the sand out of my eyes. But you suggest that the graduate of Princeton and Harvard, who for decades has been in the U.S. military, served his country honorably, that he's somehow unqualified to work at the Pentagon. The most egregious accusation you make against him, though, is that he's an extremist because he has a tattoo. Could you tell us what the tattoo is?
The tattoos, specifically, I did not make the allegation that he's an extremist. It was actually
You
his,
repeated the
fellow
allegation. So
colleague
what's
who
the
called him
tattoo?
as an insider threat.
Yeah, right. So
It
what's the
was not
tattoo?
me.
I can tell you it says
It was his fellow
No, hang
colleague.
on, let Wajahat answer, because Wajahat raised the tattoo.
Go ahead.
Wajahat, it's a
She knows
fair
it was Deo's
question.
fault,
What
and
is this
it was his
tattoo that
colleague.
you're
I
so
mentioned the
upset about?
facts.
Hang
It
on,
was his
Wajahat,
colleague.
hang on.
Wait. Two things.
Wajahat, hang on. Simple question. What is this tattoo that you're so upset about?
I wasn't the one upset about it. I was talking about his fellow colleague. This is exactly what I said. His fellow colleague.
Do you know what it was?
In the U.S. Army, called him out as a potential insider threat.
Well, what is
looking
the
at
tattoo?
The
You
tattoos
don't
on
wanna
his
answer,
chest.
huh?
What is the
and
tattoo?
Also, I called him an extremist based upon his own book. Read the book,
What
American
is the
Crusade.
tattoo,
His own
Wajahat?
words.
If you don't know what the tattoo is, just admit it.
Oh my lord. Listen,
Would you
What
like
is
to
it?
tell me
awesome.
what the tattoo is?
I want to-
Wajahat?
wait,
I'm
wait,
happy
wait.
to
No, I'm
inform you.
genuinely intrigued. Do
Let
you
the
know what
lady
it is
talk.
or not,
We've got a
Wajahat?
panelist.
When the
Wajahat,
lady
you know
talks,
what
it's
it is.
even more
She hasn't
brutal.
spoken yet. A
It's
woman hasn't spoken
genuinely
yet.
painful.
A woman
She's
hasn't
gonna answer
spoken
the
yet.
question, You're not answering.
A woman
Final
hasn't
question to you.
spoken yet. Let her speak. A woman hasn't spoken yet.
Be honest with Wajahat. Do you...
I did hear him answer it. They were all talking over each other. He
Did I say the words?
Yeah, they weren't talking about the cross. They're talking about a different tattoo.
Yeah, well, she is talking about that as well. But it'll go on to that.
actually know what that tattoo is or not?
Listen, what I do know is
Do
I
you?
read his book, and in his book, if
Do
you read
you
it,
know
called
or not?
American Crusade, in his
But
book,
Jaha,
wait a second.
Be
In his
honest.
book,
Be honest.
I am, look.
This is Jerry Springer.
Ironically, no one's going to
and
crucify
literally
you
bending
if
the
you don't
knee
know
for
the
Donald
answer.
Trump,
But do you know the
putting
answer?
our national security at risk for Pete Hegseth. I'm telling you everything, and you guys are finding ways to spin. Why are you guys
No,
okay
we're
with a
simply
man
asking you.
who has an NDA
We're
with a
simply
woman that he
asking
allegedly
you.
sexually
Do
assaulted?
you know what
Why
the
are you guys
tattoo
okay?
is
I
that
said
you got
exactly
so
what I
upset
said.
about?
No, it goes further. See if you can find where the woman's speaking, because it gets even more brutal. Because she's incorrect, and Michael Knowles corrects her. And when he corrects her, it's fucking great.
It's a good way to expose
See if you can find the other one, Jamie.
very narrow.
I'm a change agent and a
It's gonna be in here. I gotta
Click
flip
on.
here. It's the whole show. It's an hour-long show.
Well, click right there. I'll know where it is.
What is the answer?
This falls along a threat as an insider
No,
threat.
I've gone back to Michael now. You had to go.
2021 pegged Pete Hegseth as a potential
But John,
insider
you had
threat.
98 chances to answer and you failed the test. It's all right. I'm going to
James
Michael.
Ball tattoo.
I'm going to Michael.
Right on his
Don't
breast.
talk over each other. Michael.
The tattoo in question is called a Jerusalem cross. That this is a medieval Christian symbol, goes back a long time. In fact, at Jimmy Carter's funeral, there was a Jerusalem cross on the floor of the cathedral, and on the program for the funeral, there's one other tattoo that some have suggested could be extremist. It's the phrase Deus Volt, which is a medieval Christian slogan, a long traditional slogan that refers to God's will, and it goes back a long way. These are very traditional, very mainstream Christian symbols that not only are not extreme in any way, but which even the people who want to accuse him of extremism could be possibly know that is pathetic.
All right.
No, not really. His insider guardsman did it, which is what I said. And also I said that he called himself too extreme for the U.S. military in his book. That's pathetic.
Okay.
So you're gonna, is Pete Hegseth lying that he's too extreme in his book?
Let me go to Julie.
He's too extreme for radical leftists.
Let me go to Julie. Let me go to Julie. Be gentlemanly, please. We have a lady who's not spoken.
Damn.
Very patiently. Your view of this. I'll tell you what, before you answer, I know you said in your Substack about this, under normal circumstances, Pete Hegseth, would be precluded from serving in any leadership role. So explain why you said that.
Well, I will explain in 1 second. Let me go back to something that was said in the very beginning, that he spent more than 10 years at Fox News, and that's what qualifies him to be in this position that he wants to be in. I spent more than 10 years at Fox News. I don't think I'm qualified to run the DOD whatsoever based on my time at Fox News.
I said that was one of the things.
Well, I don't think that's a remote qualification. That's one.
Being able to
Two.
communicate Secretary of Defense and explain policy is actually a very big part of it.
There are plenty of qualified Republicans out there who can run the DOD, who also are good on television. It does not need to be.
What is unwavering stance,
Secondly, again, you talked about NDAs. I am bound by an NDA at Fox News. If I were not bound by an NDA and the Fox News wanted to release me from that NDA, I could tell you about my time with Pete Hegseth.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's not possible. But I will say that the reason that there are so many people who anonymously came forward at Fox News is that because they're also bound by confidentiality provisions, which 1/3 of all American workers need to sign on their first day of work. And if they were to go public, they could get sued. The reason this accuser is not heard from is because, according to the New Yorker, she tried desperately to meet with Joni Ernst on the committee, and Joni Ernst turned her down. So the reason that she has not been able to come out publicly is because she has an NDA, and even privately, she could not meet with a senator on this committee who's also a rape survivor to share her story, because that rape survivor did not want to hear from a woman who was going to put her potentially in a position to vote against Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth has written himself while at Princeton, saying that women who are passed out, if you have sex with them while they're unconscious, that's not really rape. Right? Now, the American military
Is that written
has a
somewhere?
tremendous...
I don't know.
It doesn't sound true, but yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but scoot ahead to where they just start discussing the tattoo.
Yeah, how do I get
it's
there?
in the same flow. It's
to that
not that
citadel?
far away.
This is
I don't want to do all of this.
No.
assault
Well, at least they're
properties,
letting her
You
talk.
can just go have your way with
Not
them.
really.
So I don't know which soldiers you've been talking to who think Pete Hegseth is a great thing for the military. There's not one woman out there who cares about being assaulted on deployment, who thinks that this is
That's
the
a
person
long way
that
down.
needs to be in charge of the United States military. And as for the cross that you talked about, yes,
Here
Deus
it is.
Vult, which is the cross that he has, and the slogan that he has,
Deus Vult
is an old
the
Christian
Jerusalem
cross. The phrase, however, was uttered by crusaders as they were slaughtering Jews and Muslims during the Second Crusade specifically. So it's not just a random cross.
That
it's
isn't,
not just
that
a
isn't
random
true.
phrase.
That isn't
it is
true.
a phrase.
The phrase, that
It's
isn't
not true.
It is
The phrase was uttered after the Council of Clermont, when Pope Urban II declared the crusade. It was actually it's been rendered in Latin as Deus Vult. It has nothing to do with slaughtering Jews.
And you're
It has
telling
nothing to do with
me-
slaughtering Muslims, because the Muslims had invaded Europe, not the other way around.
Oh my God, are you really saying that the reason the crusade was sent to the Holy Land to liberate the Holy Land? From whom? From Jews and Muslims.
The
And that is
crusade
a
began
phrase that
because
you want to...
I'll tell you why the crusade began. The crusade began because the Eastern Emperor asked for help from the Western Pope, because the Seljuk Turks were slaughtering Christians in the Holy Land, because those lands were Christian before
listen.
the Muslims invaded in the 7th century. So that's why.
No, those
Good to know
crusades...
Michael's
Listen,
pro-crusade.
those lands...
Who didn't want to
I'm
with
sorry.
Pete
Those lands...
No, keep going.
Those lands became Christian after the First Crusade, okay? So let's be
No,
very
the
clear.
lands were
If you want to talk
Christian
about
in
the
the
Kingdom of
1st and
Jerusalem,
2nd
I can go...
centuries,
I
and then the Muslims... Islam didn't exist before the 2nd century. What are you talking about?
Okay, I can... Listen. I can go all
This is
day
where it
if we
gets
want to talk
ugly.
about the Crusades, but the point is, I can also
Don't
show you
start fighting all this
literature.
stuff.
Where people
Maybe we should switch the
but what that has to do with Pete Hegseth is it's not that he has a random cross that talks about his faith in Jesus Christ. He used a very specific terminology. But putting
A
all
phrase
of that
that was first
aside,
uttered to defend
the biggest-
persecuted Christians in the Middle East, just like they're being persecuted today.
okay,
Yeah.
if you want to talk about
That's
the
who you want as
Crusades
the
being...
Secretary of Defense. Wonderful.
Oh,
Yes,
that's a
well,
boss.
if you wanna-
Okay.
Julie, finish your point.
Get here, boy.
Julie, finish your point, and I'll go to
Listen.
Michael, to Dave.
My point is that I cannot even believe that something the Vatican apologized for is something that you're defending, which is the
And bye.
slaughter of Jews and Muslims during the Crusades.
What
But,
did the Vatican
excuse me, the Vatican said that why don't you give me a call after this, and I will walk you through exactly
All right,
what
let's
the
try and
Vatican
bring things
apologized
back.
for when it
All
came
right,
to the treatment of Muslims
all
in
right,
the
time
Crusades.
out,
But if you want to
time
talk
out.
about, but if you want to
We'll
talk
do a
about
separate
Pete,
Crusades debate another time. Let me bring Dave Rubin in.
The worst way to have
Separate
conversations.
Crusades is made out like
I'm
that.
getting a headache from this. Like, fuck these people. Fuck that whole panel. I'm sorry, but like, you can't talk like this. Each of those individual people, I'm not sure about the second guy from, even even the woman. It'd be a fascinating 4 or 5 hour conversation.
Yes.
Chill.
You should probably have her on.
Yeah, well, her and Michael Knowles and Piers Morgan, yes.
Yeah.
This is not the right. I'm so exhausted of this fucking bullshit.
I know.
I can't. I'm like angry right now.
Yeah, I know.
Because
I want to play more for you.
this own
Published a column saying sex with unconscious women isn't rape. Jesus. Imagine not just thinking that, but publishing it. What did he actually say?
heart rate, intercourse.
Bemusing yet mandatory orientation program revolves entirely around whether an instance of sexual intercourse constitutes rape. The actual instance portrayed in the skit was a skit? In fact, not a clear case of rape, at least not in my home state. So this is Texas saying this. In short, though intercourse was not consented to, there was no duress because the girl drank herself into unconsciousness. Both criteria must be satisfied for rape. Unfortunately, the panelists never cited any legal definition of rape. Yet the panel, all females in the session I attended, claimed that rape it was. Huh. What year was this? So they talk
What is
about,
this discussion on Joe Rogan, man? Holy shit, they don't have any other topics,
and
it
then
seems.
it says they're talking about
They're talking this
a
to
legal
Lex Friedman, man,
definition of
who's
rape.
really bright.
Has the legal definition changed
scientist.
over years? Like when was this? Is he talking about a legal definition?
Oh
or
man,
is he
that's
talking about his own
trash.
opinion? Right, there's a giant difference between the two of them, right? Especially if you're taking something out of context, you don't know if he elaborated. Article for his college newspaper stating that having sex with unconscious women isn't rape because the criteria for rape isn't met. So this is in his college newspaper. So how old is he? Is he like 50? How old is Pete Hegseth?
Yeah, it's up there, right?
Which is really weird to think that 44.
College would have been around 2000.
Well, yeah. I remember in 2000-ish, I remember when we were doing the podcast, there was a brief moment of time where people were talking about if a man had sex with a woman and they had both been drinking, that it was rape. That the woman could not consent because she was drunk, but the man's drunk too, right? So it gets weird. It gets like, we understand like traditionally men are pursuing women and that plying someone with alcohol is a famous thing that people do. It's kind of a weird legal thing. Come on, one more drink, have another drink, have another drink. And we all know that when people get drunk, they do stupid shit. But we don't know what happened if you're both drunk. You know, so this is what I'm getting at is that 2000, these conversations were already being had. The question is like, is he saying this from his personal perspective or is he saying it from a legal perspective? I don't know what else was in the text, you know, I'm trying to be as charitable as possible. Because if like more was in the, like that's a reprehensible act, that's like, did he say anything like that? Or was it just specifically talking about the legal definition? Because he said in his state, right?
Just to be clear, he did not write it himself. He published it.
Oh.
That's what this is. In short, Hegseth did not publish it. He did not. Or did publish such a column while he held the role.
He did not write it himself.
He did not write it.
Okay. So he just published someone's opinions. Okay, that's very different.
Very different.
That's very, very, very different. She said he said that. That's not what he said at all. See that right there.
I'm just so exhausted.
That's
by this.
exhausting.
Both like with things about
That's
Trump, with both sides.
But that right there is crazy because my opinion of him shifted briefly when I was you know, I was watching Daniel Negreanu, you know, the great poker player, was on Tim Pool's show.
Yeah.
And they were talking about his shift in political ideologies, and then a lot of it came from when they were accusing Trump of saying that thing that Obama repeated falsely during the campaign, was that he was talking about white nationalists and neo-Nazis and saying there's very fine people on both sides. And Negreanu had heard that. He had heard the clip where Trump said it, where it was edited. He had never seen the full thing. And then once he saw the full thing, he was like, what the fuck? And it immediately made him realize, like, oh my God, they're lying. They're lying. And then he talked about how Obama repeated, this is years after Daniel had known it was false, Obama repeating it at the campaign speeches. And then Obama sitting right next to Trump, and they're joking around with each other. Hey, pal, I know you're a neo-Nazi lover, you fucking rascal. How'd you win? Like, it's... But just what that lady did on that show, and then when we find out that Hegseth didn't actually write that, he just published it. You know, and he published it in college as a 20-year-old.
We need to somehow
whatever he
get
was.
to this
I think
city
there should be
logo.
also
Look at
room
this. It
for
has
that lady
freaking 5
to
modifiers
change
on it.
her mind and apologize.
Damn,
a
that's
lot of us parrot. A lot of us parrot, including.
I don't think
you
I'm
and I.
getting there
Never.
today because
Yeah.
I'm
How
going to
dare
get
you.
exhausted
Parrot
by that
bullshit we
time.
see online.
Yeah, of course.
And then we should give each other room to like
Yes.
say, I
What we
fucked
can
up.
do,
That
we can
people don't want to
approach
say
this
that.
tower.
This is what they have
Yeah.
to understand. Even people I don't like, listen to me.
That's the
It's-
whole
there's strength
circle,
in that.
man. Holy
It's
shit.
better
The long
than
way.
digging your heels in. There's strength in saying I was uninformed or I was misinformed. I fucked up. I've said it before. It's important to do. You got to do it because you can't have an erroneous idea in your head and repeat it over
Crypt
and over
is
again.
a
You can't have
smaller
an
map, we can
incorrect,
do it.
false opinion that you have defended, and now you can't ever accept, even
Fast.
with new information that shows that it's not true.
I should also say, because it's fucking sitting in my head, on this topic, I'm probably going to do like a 5+ hour interview with Jack Rutherford on Genghis Khan. And I read his book.
All right.
And I'm not proud of the way I formulated my, for the fuck of
In
it.
the beginning of
In
it?
the beginning, I'm still bothered by the looseness with which I talked about rape. And I don't think I have in me the eloquence or the skill to improve on that. I think in general, it's trying to find the right words
Well,
to
here's
describe the historically accurate thing, the data that we have, and then the narratives. I think the point Jack Weatherford makes is that we keep oscillating back and forth on Genghis Khan. He's one like this epic, great
Hey,
conqueror.
give me a second, guys. I
Currently,
need to go and
Alexander
come
the
back
Great
in a
has
second.
that
Don't miss me.
good vibes all around him. Nobody talks about him as a horrible human.
horrible human.
Yeah, but currently Genghis Khan has this kind of a barbarian, evil, just rapist.
Well,
and so
they're
on.
just so good at it. They were so good at murder. They were so good at war. I mean, just so uniquely good at military strategy.
So it's about, he always kept the army to about 100,000. It's small, so it's 100,000 horses. Each soldier had 5 horses, so 4 spare horses with them. So imagine it's 500,000.
Which they
horses.
use their blood to fuel them.
Yeah, they would
use
consume
that
the
for
blood.
food.
So it's very portable.
Yeah.
They're not bringing
Right.
logistically the whole. I mean, this is just imagine this armada moving
Mhm.
at like they can move like 50 miles a day. This entire army, and they don't have to follow the roads, which all the
Right.
military would follow the roads. So you can go around, you can surround, you can, and they did as you know, they can retreat. Feign retreat and then attack from the sides.
Yep.
It's the blitzkrieg. It's the
Genius stuff.
and a lot of people, including Dan Carlin, say it's the greatest military in history. They would defeat every single military, including Napoleon, with the muskets and everything.
Yeah.
They would destroy Napoleon. And then, of course, in the 20th century.
You know what they didn't defeat? Samurais.
Right. But they never really fought.
They did.
They twice they fought, but it's not
and
a
they were
real
like,
battle.
These guys are fucking crazy. They thought they were crazy. These guys were like practicing their whole lives for one-on-one combat with swords.
As far as I know, they never really had a full-on battle. I wish they did.
There were some battles. There was battles on an island, one of the islands outside of Japan. But the Japanese successfully held off the Mongols, and they were like one of the only civilizations to ever pull that off.
Guys,
I
I'm
think one of
around.
the
I'm
issues
just
with
dealing with my
Mongols,
kid. She wanted
except
some
Kublai
food,
Khan,
so I'll just give her
they were
food and come
not
back.
good with water. They didn't know how to. The ship thing was not.
Oh. What a big mistake.
Well,
imagine if they got as good with water as they were with horses. That would have been a real problem.
Well, a lot of things they had advantage on, like for example, they can ride on ice, and so
how'd they do that?
In Mongolia, these people like
Did
ride
they have
horse-
different horseshoes? Did they
I
even
don't-
shoe their horses back then?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
No, it's all like they don't have like.
When did they start shoeing horses?
That's a good question. But
You
that
know?
doesn't feel like a Mongol thing. I mean, the
Right, it
people
doesn't.
can ride The
They were
mounted
riding
archery.
bareback. Yeah. Oh my
I'm sure
God.
you know about this.
The mountain archery is so insane. They had the ability to hang off the side of the horse, so they would shoot from under the horse's neck. So they were completely defended by the horse, and they were shooting arrows, and their bows were 160 pounds. So you had to be insane. They said that a lot of the skeletons they find from that era, their bones are deformed because your whole body has just been pulling 160 pounds with your right arm or your left arm, like your whole life. So your right side is like insanely muscled, and your bones are all twisted and thicker and denser tendons and everything. So they've been doing that since they were children.
They start out at like 2 years old.
Yeah, insanely formidable armor. Insanely formidable. But here's something to take into consideration when we're saying about how Genghis Khan's genes were spread. But just right off the bat, it's all awful, all horrible. I wish no one ever got killed by anybody ever. It's all awful. All war is hell. All of it. All's hell. There was so much of it going on throughout human history that women would survival
Wall Street, I'm about reaching my background.
Pink waving face, blue smiling.
Hi man, welcome. How you doing?
So these women were able,
by the way, I got a ban from Counter-Strike today, so I won't be able to play competitive for 24 hours. That's why I'm not playing it. I'm waiting for Fragpunk to release it at the night so I can play it. By that time, I'm just listening to the podcast and playing.
And then in modern day society,
POE.
we call that rape.
Right.
But it's you have to use different words for that time because there is rape where it's like violent rape as part of war, as part of a mechanism of terror.
I think even as just part of society up until like a few thousand years ago, or even a few hundred years ago. I think human beings, like I've had a bunch of friends who've served overseas, and the stories they tell from Afghanistan, especially with the child raping, is fucking bone curdling.
Yeah.
Like you blood curdling. Just like you just want to leave the room when they're talking. You don't even want to hear this. You don't want to think that this is happening right now because it's an old culture. It's an old culture, and it's separate from the rest of the world. It's very remote, very difficult to access. You have warlords and herders who are living in these nomadic tribes to this day. It's not much different than when Alexander the Great conquered it.
So I should say that Genghis Khan, from everything I understand, was not progressive. He was very pragmatic. This is why he
allowed all religions,
which is Thomas Jefferson, I should say, deeply admired Genghis Khan for this, freedom of religion. And he didn't just say freedom of religion, it's freedom of an individual to practice any religion they want, which is it's like individualism. It's a really revolutionary, badass idea for that time, for that place.
This thing is
we recognize strength and the value of accepting strength and taking, and there's strength in unity, there's strength in community. If people can worship whatever they want, but all be united under one banner, it's better than dividing everybody.
And the feminist thing that I mentioned, he would put women in power. Why? Is he a feminist? No, he understood that women are able to men conquer better in his perspective, and women rule better because they keep a stable society. So he would marry a woman to the king of the place, and then send the king off to fight, the ruler to fight, knowing for sure he's going to die. But the woman is now ruling, and then there's a lot of progressive things about they were allowed to show their face, especially in the Persian lands where they conquered. Like they're allowed to wear these fancy headdresses, and which is
they could floss a little.
Yeah,
Chicks got excited about that.
Yeah, exactly.
New rules.
And the other thing, on this is the tricky thing is the Mongolian tribes where Genghis Khan came up. By the way, came up from nothing. Father slaughtered. I mean, this is from nothing. That was a common practice to steal wives, to steal women. Yeah. And
well, he had one of his wives stolen, and she came back pregnant.
That was like the origin story. The origin story of Genghis Khan, right, is like the love of his life, who was married to him for his whole life. He proposed to her. He said, "You're gonna marry." At 9 years old, she was kidnapped, and he had to raise an army in order to rescue her back. That was the sort of the split in the road. He would have been a normal Mongol, but here he has to raise an army to rescue her back. Wow. And then he realized he's really fucking good at this whole rescuing thing. But it started with
that's
it's a real love story.
You know what?
Well, so I could find is that the horses were unshoed.
Unshoed.
But they did do something that this says here they used some sort of skin to cover it.
Interesting. Allowed to dry in place in order to acquire the shape of a hoof. Correct technique to cover the hoof, which offer greater ability to move faster and more efficiently than their opponents. Interesting.
Horseshoes were around for at least 200 or 300 years before them, so they probably knew about it.
Skins. That's interesting. What you're saying about him developing the ability and like really, hey, I'm really good at this. Do you know that's exactly what happened with the Somali pirates? Do you know the Somali pirates' origin story?
No.
The Somali pirates called themselves the People's Coast Guard of Somalia. They were defending the waters against Europeans dumping toxic waste in the ocean. They were fishermen. So they had found that these ships were dumping water and killing all the fish. And so these motherfuckers, we're going to hold them responsible. So they boarded these ships, kidnapped them, and said, hey, you have to pay us. We've lost all this money from all our fish. We don't have any fish. Give us money or we'll kill these motherfuckers. And they gave them money and they said, hey, let's start kidnapping people. Like, this is way better. And then, you know, there's a narcotic aspect to it because of cat, because of the widespread use of this narcotic cat, just like that amphetamine. Is it a reef? K-H-A-T? That's like, you know, the guy on the boat. Look, I'm the captain now. That guy's cracked out. I mean, they're all real skinny.
And what's really important in that dynamic is who is the leader that emerges. That's the interesting thing about Genghis Khan. He became super powerful. That person could have been incompetent. Genghis Khan could have been a bunch of different people.
Right.
He instilled one of the really revolutionary things is meritocracy.
What? Your critical damage bonus is 300%, bro. That's one is something really unique. Redivine minimum. Okay, we got a jackpot.
You know, meditations. He failed as an emperor by appointing his kids. Before him, the 5 emperors all appointed generals based on merit, right? So Genghis Khan always appointed based on merit. Who's the best person here to lead the groups, which is a revolutionary idea for the time because it was usually based on kin. Like your relationship, your brothers, your sisters, your father, so on. That was really important. And the other thing I mentioned is about the tribes, the origin story, is everybody would kidnap and actual rape the women. They would steal women in the Mongol Empire. As soon as he won over the entire original Mongolia, he banned, that was a strict rule, there's no kidnapping of wives. That was a rule for Mongolia, and that rule propagated everywhere.
That's wild. It's like, this is what got us into this shit.
Yeah. So which is one of the pieces of evidence where they're like, it's like, there was a lot of cracking down on the whole rape thing. But there's a caveat of like, well, why is there so many dead bodies where like the atmosphere changed?
Yeah. Why is the carbon footprint different of the human race during the time that he was alive? But it's interesting because we also have to look at things in a perspective of living in the year 1200 or what was it, 1240s? Like, when was he around?
I should know this, 12 or 13.
So
yeah,
well, Jamie will find out. You have to. It's very hard to do, and it's not apologizing for these people. I'm not like saying that we should apply the way they looked at the world today. I think the way we look at the world is infinitely better, and we're moving in an infinitely better direction. And I think we have like large extremes that go in one direction, and things push back in the other direction too far. There's an overcorrection, and then they balance out. I think we're generally moving in a direction of a more kind, more peaceful society. I think we're better. That said, 1,200 years ago, the world was hell. There was no newspapers, no one could read. Okay, where did you get your information from? You got your information from priests and from generals, and you shared information if you were farmers. The world was horrific. People fought with bows and arrows and cannons and catapults. And murder was commonplace. If you were 12 years old, you've probably seen a few people killed already. It was a different time to be alive. Diseases would kill everybody. There was no medicine. You broke your leg, you're dead. You get infected, you're dead. It was just, the world was a very, very different place. It was so dangerous and so fucking terrifying, and people relied on their base instincts and the worst aspects of humanity. They relied on that to survive because that was all around you. You had to become a monster if you wanted to live in monstrous times.
And that's why the rule of law had to be enforced in a brutal way.
Yeah.
One of the really powerful things he did is protect merchants, people that traded.
Yeah.
If you fuck with people that trade, that on the Silk Road, you're going to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
It's not like there's going to be a process. You get slaughtered.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the reasons I hesitate to say this because people are projected to the future, but he took Kiev and slaughtered because they broke the rules of I forget the term for this, but the people that are sent out to communicate before the battle starts.
The ambassadors.
And the ambassadors. The rule is you don't fuck with them.
Yeah.
And the Kievan residents killed them. And that's where you break the rule. It's like, that's it. Then it's total war.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to do that. I mean, you don't have to do that, but that is one of the...
Well, if you're living back
and then you look at, like, but the result is complete slaughter. And by the way, thank you for rescuing me. I said a bunch of stupid shit, and you're adding more complexity and depth and nuance. And
well, we just got started. I don't know how you. I love you too. I love you to death, man. You know how you, when you begin a podcast, I don't know if you're like this, but for me, I got to get cooking. Sometimes that's one of the reasons why I like to talk to people. I like to talk sometimes for like 15 minutes even before we go on air. The danger is they're going to say something and I'm going to ask them to repeat it. I don't want that. So sometimes I'll come in hot and I'm like, let's just go right now. But your brain, you don't know we're going to talk about the Mongols and rape. Yeah. Right? And so then all of a sudden we're in this very intense conversation about the responsibility you have as a podcaster, which is a crazy thing to say. But you do. You have probably more responsibility than anybody. And then this subject comes up in the middle of that.
Oh, that's a crazy hammer.
Like,
and before that, we were joking about ejaculating in space.
Yeah, that's how we started it. Yeah. Bro, I mean, we used to have open up some of the most serious conversations this podcast ever had with a Fleshlight ad.
Yeah.
The early days of the podcast, that was the only sponsor we had. So it's like, this is, again, you reacting to criticism, right? So it's like the fear of the criticism of you yourself knowing you could have done a better job.
It wasn't successful, unfortunately, so we move on.
Which is really the difference between off-the-cuff conversations and, like, your actual well-considered thoughts on things expressed in the best way possible, which is what you would do if you're going to write it out, if you're going to write a Substack piece about it.
Well, one of the things I'm trying to do for myself personally, I think a lot of people have to do this when young kids have to do this, is figure out how to create like a psychological framework where I'm not affected by the internet. It sounds like ridiculous to say, but you say don't read the comments, but they come at you like they'll find their way. And I need to view.
It doesn't work. Nobody's good at it. Even you know. Just post and go. Post and go. Post things that are interesting and just get out of it. Don't read stuff about yourself. Someone said this to Anthony Hopkins. He was talking about someone's opinion of him. He said that doesn't concern me. No, was it Anthony Hopkins? I think it was. But he was like, their opinion.
But let's add to the little puzzle. What if a bunch of your friends, say you're getting canceled online? By the way, Tucker Carlson is good as he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, he doesn't even have social media.
Yeah.
I know.
So-
I always want to send it. This motherfucker's not even gonna look at this.
What if like all your friends have read the thing, right? Like that your parents or so on, your loved
Okay.
ones, like, and the thing could be just a bunch of lies about you.
Sure.
Like what? That like to me that's a little bit of a tricky thing.
Well, that's not something you should ignore, right? If you want to make a statement, there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is, don't regularly engage in people's opinions of the product you put out.
Yeah.
I don't think it's healthy for you because I think, first of all, you know, I've said this before. I'm only kind of joking. I'm serious. Most people are losers. Sorry. If you're doing it all the time and you're doing it in a negative way all the time, this is not everybody. There's a lot of like really well thought out commentary on YouTube videos that I see. On if occasionally I'll read someone's Instagram page and I'll read my friends' comments. Some people are brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but it is a haven for fuckheads. It's a place where people can go and just try to insult people and say the most negative thing possible. And they generally, I think, there's generally a lot of like dull-minded people that gravitate towards the negative. You know where that differs is Christians, which is interesting. Like a lot of like low wattage Christians are still super nice. You know, and they'll just praise Jesus and look at the real right, which is great. Yeah, the false state. What you're supposed to do if you really follow Jesus' teaching is like be completely nonviolent, be a beautiful person, and love everybody like it's your brother. That's what he wants. That's like, you know, and if you follow that, but there's just too many assholes and too many disgruntled people out there that have terrible lives. You know, the most men lead lives of quiet desperation, the Thoreau line that I fucking love so dearly. It's such a great line. That's so true and maybe even more true today because of the unnatural world in which we're thrust in. So not only are people doing things that they hate most of the time, but they're also engaging with their phone more than they are with people. So they're engaging in this very bizarre, non-physical way that is detached from any interaction, detached from emotions, eye contact, the feel of being with someone, the back and forth of a conversation between two people. Like if you and I were going to disagree about something, if there was like some political thing or some social thing that you and I disagreed about, I want to know why you think the way you think. Like I want to know. Like, if you think a thing and I disagree with it, the first thing I want to know is, and this is not something I always have. I got way better at this in my life as I've gotten older and had more conversations with people. You gotta like absolutely know what this person thinks. Don't like attack it. Don't twist it around. Don't distort it. You have to kind of steer them. You have to be as charitable to that position as possible. And then occasionally, when you find things that you disagree with, you have to stop and you have to say, okay, here's my problem with this. And it has to be done in good faith. You have to be doing it not to win. You have to be doing it to figure out what's right. And everybody's so fucking attached to their opinions and their ideology that most of the time, most conversations are had where one person's trying to win. You're trying to win all the time. You're playing this stupid game. It's a dumbass game where everybody's a loser.
But we just watched the Piers Morgan thing.
That's the same thing.
It clearly pulled in your attention.
I love
You're
it.
aware of it.
Yeah.
See, you love it. You're part of the problem, Joe.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
I'm a
look,
huge part of the problem.
you're
Don't
human-
get me wrong.
Meaning you're a human being.
Well, yeah. Well, also, like, how much do I contribute to people wasting their time? TikTok reels, like Instagram reels, Twitter things. How many fucking Twitter articles get written about every stupid thing I said? I mean, for 3 days, Dragon Believer was trending. Just because some wacky old lady thinks I believe in dragons. But this is just the nature of the world. I love that aspect of the internet. I love the wacky shit.
Yeah.
Even the Ukraine war footage, which is horrible, what it's doing is giving you a more nuanced version of the world. And some of it's not good. Like I watched a video today of a guy who got killed by a tiger. Well, he didn't get killed by a tiger. He got torn apart by a tiger. The wounds, man. The wounds that this guy, like, I didn't think, like, what would a tiger do to you if a tiger bit your face? You want to see?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. I know you do.
Because I'm...
You get a little curious. I'm switching over to Android, buddy.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome
I
to
just
the
have a
dark
few
side.
more steps that I have to do before I switch over, and I'm going to try to communicate only with encrypted apps from now on. No
Yeah,
more
use
text.
WhatsApp signal.
It's just sort of like limiting Twitter replies to registered accounts. You know, you know, people like to do that. I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to use WhatsApp for everything. I was going to use Signal, but...
Yeah. I don't know. The people that use Signal, I don't know.
It seems too secret squirrel.
I don't even know what that means, but yeah.
You know, like you're a spy of using Signal.
Yeah.
I use it, though. I use it all the time. I mean, I'm totally being hypocritical here. What was I looking at? Oh, the tiger thing. Bro, this one's rough. This one's rough. This is Tom Segura. I sent it to him today. Tom Segura and I send each other every day the worst shit that we can find on the internet. And it has been, like, legitimately, it's been one of the worst
Yeah, we're getting
aspects
5
of
divine
modern
prophet
life
now.
for me.
Amazing.
It's like every
Just
fucking
like that.
day, me and Tom are sending each other guys getting killed by assassins.
Nice.
It's every day. There's so many footage, so many videos
Whoa.
of cartel
That's cool.
members whacking people. Like, after a while, you're like, holy shit, I don't know if I could do this anymore. Like, every day, someone's getting run over by a truck.
Okay, we
Every
have
day. And you're,
pretty similar
that's-
builds.
So here it is.
Not the same
So this
though.
guy, they're shooting at the... Give me some volume so you can hear this. So they shot at the tigers just before this.
Okay,
'cause
well,
this
what is
guy
this?
had been bitten up. And so, see, they're shooting at him
tiger
right now.
footage?
And the tiger's like, nah, bitch. And the tiger's just biting down on this guy.
Okay, they don't show the video, unfortunately. I wish we could watch it.
So this is what the guy looked like. This is his wounds.
Wow.
Dead? Bro. Look at his head. I mean, his bone is exposed. Yeah, no, he's alive, dude. Look at his face. Watch this show his face. So this guy climbed into a wildlife enclosure. Those were not wild tigers. It was, they were, you know, I don't want to say tamed, not tamed, but there's some, in some way, at least minimized in their effectiveness. That, you know, our buddy Paul sent me that. Paul Rosalie sent me that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So this does remind me of the jungle.
Yeah.
Our buddy Paul is fearless.
He's a bad motherfucker. Paul Rosalie's a bad motherfucker. That guy is literally putting his money where his mouth is, where his life is, trying to save the Amazon, like living in it, helping people, you know, hiring people to guard it, taking people that were chopping the wood, chopping the trees down, and then giving them a new job to protect the trees. It's fucking amazing.
He feels the pain. Like, he literally, like, physically feels the pain of lost trees.
He sent me something. I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but if we're not, I'll edit it out after. But he sent me a video. I can't show the video. He sent me a video of an uncontacted tribe that he discovered. Yeah. He send you that? Fucking insane. Just complete uncontacted tribe, naked in the forest, hundreds of them. And they're like pushing these boats filled with bananas out to them to give them food.
The reason we could probably talk about it, they try not to show it so
Yeah.
people don't show up and try to find them.
Exactly.
You want to kind of protect them.
Exactly.
So,
That's why I don't know if we could even talk about it. But he has brought up the uncontacted tribes before on the show, and one of his friends was murdered by one. One of the tribes, he was these guys would drop off food to these people. One day they're like, you know what? Enough. Whap. I'm just gonna kill you. Fuck you. I don't trust you.
Yeah, and we hung out. We talked to a guy that works for Paul that has a scar from a spear.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez. At least 100 uncontacted groups in the rainforest. Unbelievable, man. They're living like they were living 20,000 years ago, maybe even more. You know, completely. That is
Wow,
that is
so
to me
big.
One of the most fascinating aspects of human life today. it's not just that we're on the verge of quantum computing and AI becoming sentient. It's we're coexisting at the same time with people that have a completely subsistence-based lifestyle with the stuff that's around them. You know, stone tools, literally, pointed sticks for spears. That they've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. And they're living at the same time as smart people.
Not only that,
That's
people
actually
probably
wild
their
what he
roots,
mentions.
They
when
could
you
be the original civilization. I mean,
trying to comprehend.
Look at that. Isn't that crazy? Look at those people. That is so wild. Man, that would be so...
Miguel Tomei said, "Hi there. Can I have your loot filter? It seems pretty funny."
Somehow.
Hi Miguel, I'm gonna post this loot filter after I reach 1k subs, so you can contribute to that and sub to the channel.
I think
because that's kind of, you know, clickbait. But yeah, this is the loot filter my friend done for me, actually.
Without doubt, gonna hit
So
us
you
like
cannot
a
find it on the
over
internet,
the
it's
next
just
20
for
years,
us.
30 years, whatever it is. What are we going to become? We're going to become what they are, the same kind of thing. And if there was a planet
Bro,
that
the
had
game is
something
lagging like crazy
us
now.
that's emerging and just figuring out how to split the atom and, you know, and still involved in tribal warfare, a primate that's still involved with tribal warfare but now has nuclear bombs. That's us. Also dick pics. Also, you know, also OnlyFans. Also, you know, just massive social media addicts all over the entire planet while we're engaging in tribal warfare with hypersonic weapons. So they would be studying us the same way we're studying these folks. Same thing.
Yeah,
you know?
let me just
when we find out a guy got hit with a spear, like, oh,
join the
fuck,
server
what
again
happened?
because
People
it
are
started
crazy.
lagging like crazy
Like, you
now.
gotta be careful. Like when Paul was saying that
Yep.
they were there and they realized that the tribe was close, like they were starting to hear
Something
things.
is wrong
and
with the
they realized
service.
They were probably being hunted, and they just got the fuck out of
So
there
yeah,
as quick as
Miguel.
they could.
That's the way we're gonna do it.
I do
Till
not
we reach
wanna wake
1k
up to,
subs on this channel, I'm
news
gonna
on my
reveal
feed
it for
that
sure.
Paul Rosalie got killed by an uncontacted tribe.
Well, he's I mean, that guy leaps into adventure. Like,
Yeah.
I've gotten the chance to hang out with him, and it's great.
The
There's
game is
certain people, I don't know
lagging
many
like
people like him
crazy right now,
on the-
bro.
in the way
Holy
that you
shit. It's
described, but also in
unplayable,
the way
actually.
where he sees,
Let me restart it.
Elon is a little bit like this, actually. Like, he sees the opportunity for adventure, and he just leaps into it. There's not like a deep, deliberate process of strategy and planning and so on. It's just something pulls at him, and that's a really fun person to be with. But couple that with just extreme competence. Like, he's good at surviving.
Yeah.
He's is good at taking risks and good at surviving, and that's so like the uncontacted
Bro, what's
tribes
wrong
or
with the
the
servers
crazy shit
today?
in the jungle, just,
Holy
like,
shit,
getting
look at
lost
that.
and almost dying, all that kind of stuff. Like,
And he's a really nice guy.
super nice.
A really nice guy, and it's just like there's something to that. He's an actual good person. He's really doing this for a good cause. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and it's not just the Amazon rainforest. He's also going to Africa and India and sort of trying to save nature. I mean, you go out hunting.
Miguel Tomei said you could
forest
put
is
it
a
up
bit
on your
different than, like,
Discord,
the
so only viewers
Amazon
could
rainforest.
access.
Their life
It's
is
a lot
like
different.
it's like
Uh,
real intense. Like, there's a lot.
Actually, that's a really
You're in the
nice idea.
middle
I'll do
of
that. Why
soup
not?
Of life.
It
When
really
you have
is.
that much life, just
I'll
think
do
about
that,
the
yeah,
life of
later.
Sex.
Maybe
You were
after
around
the stream.
buzzing at night. Explain that. What that sounds like.
Yeah, it's an
That's a good
orchestra.
idea.
There's
Thank you for
millions
that,
of
by the
little
way.
and-
I didn't think about that.
Screaming. There's no silence at night.
Oh yeah, they're all fucking.
They're all screaming and fucking and killing each other.
Yeah.
And it's all life eats life all around you. It's life eating life.
And well, one of the ways to experience that is the sound. The other way is just standing there. Stuff starts crawling at you.
Yeah.
So, and you get.
Did you get bit by a bullet ant?
No, but step very close to it. There's a lot. I mean,
I wanna
Miguel
get bit
Tomei
by
said
one.
thank you.
in the
Welcome,
context
sir.
here, I would love to get bit by one.
Would you do it on the podcast? We brought in bullet ants?
Yeah.
So
So
you have to take a day off of everything else.
what do you listen?
I think you do. I think you don't want to be interviewing some person about AI just sweating. Just sweating in agony.
I think
everybody likes to think they have like super high pain tolerance. You know that about men? It's fun. Men always like to think, oh man, I got fucking.
Meanwhile, don't women have much?
You know what's the highest? Redheaded women.
Oh, that explains a lot.
This is up for debate, but I sent Jamie something recently. Do you remember that thing I sent you? So we were talking about it on the podcast multiple times because I had read that they had a higher pain threshold. I'm like, that's weird. I wonder why. Well, because everybody's been fucking with gingers forever. They've been beating their ass. They're like an MMA guy who's got 2 older brothers. You know? The scariest MMA fighters have older brothers who used to beat them up. Because they're ready to fucking throw down all the time. Like the scariest guys or abusive stepdads. Those two.
Right.
That makes a scary guy. Or abusive father. The guys that I know that are the fucking scariest, they had abusive dads. They had people that beat them up.
That's interesting facts from Joe,
They
bro.
just get fucking used to go.
Holy shit.
straight go.
Never thought about that.
Fear of going, they want to go all the time. Let's fucking go. Like they've just been. That's the only way to survive. If you're a kid and you have a brother who's 4 years old and your dad is a raging dog and he beats your mom in front of you and your brother beats your ass too, like fuck, man, you better be hard or you're not gonna make it. There's no pillow to cry into, man. You gotta fight your brother. He's 4 years old. He knocked you out last week. He laughs at you when you're on your back.
Yeah, I mean, not to return to the topic, but Genghis Khan murdered his older brother because he was picking on him.
Because he stole his fish.
Fish.
Yeah, he said, fuck you. Shot him with a bow and arrow. The mom freaked out.
Yeah.
Called him a monster.
Yeah.
She was right. Well, also, you learn how to kill your brother when you're, what was he, 6? Wasn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Like he gets married at 9.
Yeah, you're getting off on the wrong foot.
And conquers an empire at 16.
But they didn't expect you to live past 30. You know, you got to 30, you were an old fuck back then.
Meanwhile, he lived into his 60s.
Yeah, he lived really long. And he was consulting with monks because he was trying to figure out how to live longer, how to live forever. He was like, he felt the iron ebbing from his blood. And he felt the body weaken. And he wanted to visit today, be on TRT, be fucking great.
Meanwhile, his kids are kind of disappointed. I mean, this is like...
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Isn't that always the case? That's the thing. Like, show me a man.
Just
who's a
let
great
me
man
go.
who's the son of a
Holy
great man.
shit. They're pushing like crazy.
It's tough.
It's tough. It's a hard road. I mean, you have to have a very exceptional father who recognizes the requirements that this kid is going to go through if you're fucking Genghis Khan's son. And meanwhile, you're also running an empire. Like, raising kids is a very involving thing. And it's a
It's absolutely
thing.
true.
And you have to know
asks, can
which
you
ones
one-shot
to push
endgame
and
bosses
which
too?
ones to just let
Yeah,
them
Miguel, I can
themselves,
one-shot
which ones to support,
everything,
which
like
ones
tier
to
4.
encourage,
It doesn't
and
matter.
how to encourage
Any
them, how to-
boss.
how to
Any
instill
pinnacle boss,
discipline,
basically.
how to show them how important it is to feel the pain of loss.
It's
and to
such
feel
a
like
just
failure,
very simple
and
and
to
strong
understand that
build,
this
to be
doesn't
honest.
make you a bad
You
person.
don't
It's
need
just the
a lot of
lessons life and
investment
the energy
in
that
it
comes with
also.
doing something well and throwing yourself into something and finding success versus half-assing your existence.
We're going for the
and
next
feeling
pinnacle
filled
boss.
with
Hopefully I can
misery
get
and
there
regret.
today and finish it.
That's a difficult thing
So,
when you're sleeping on
you'll see
spilled
for
cheese.
yourself.
That was like what Marvin Hagler used to talk about. Like, it's hard to get up in the morning.
Bro,
and
bro,
sleep
bro,
on
bro, bro,
spilled
what
cheese.
is the
He was
damage?
talking about the pull of as you become
I mean,
successful,
sometimes there's
softer,
so many
softer.
ridiculous things happening which can get you killed.
And then
I hate that.
just chill.
It's random damage coming out of nowhere.
The son's growing up rich, and you're chill. Like fuck, man. Like you want to make a conqueror, you want to make a champion fighter. Give them a rough childhood. I don't think you should do it. It definitely shouldn't be mean to your kid, just so that they could be a badass fighter.
Well, I think it's also, there's probably a balance you can hit, but a lot of these folks, because they have nothing, they want to spoil their kids. They go too far in the other direction. So it's harder to be a strict parent, I think.
Mitzi Shore used to ignore
Fine,
Paul
just
just to
follow.
make him funnier.
Thank you for the follow.
She talked about ignoring
And
him
welcome
when he
to the
cried.
channel, sir.
Yeah, it'll make him funny. She was right. She knew what she was doing.
Miguel
But
Tomei
it's
said,
like,
gotta get to work.
To do that,
See you soon.
Oh, see you soon, Miguel.
if you're a
Bye-bye, and
conqueror,
thank you for being here.
you came up from shooting your
Thank you for
brother
dropping
with a
by.
bow and arrow and then raising an army to take back your wife and then you have children. Your children are born when you're 40. You know, and
Have a good one.
You've got this insane empire that's like one of the most spectacular and impressive military accomplishments. If you just look at it in terms of just like the sheer numbers of human beings they sent people. It's a crazy number, man. They killed somewhere between, I think the estimates are 50 to 60 million people. Over the course of his lifetime, 10% of the population of Earth.
Yeah, and they, how? By
brutal one-on-one contact. Bows and arrows, fire, catapults, swords, spears, trampled.
And through all of that, it doesn't seem like power corrupted the guy. So he was big on unmarked grave, no statues, no allowed to be near him, no paintings, no anything.
Not just that, they killed everybody that was involved in it. Yeah. The people that went to bury him, another group came out to kill them. And then another group came out to kill the people that killed them. So they came in 3 waves, so that no one would have any idea where Genghis Khan's buried. And we still don't know.
That's one of the qualities of, there's a perception of Zelensky, sort of the average showman and all that kind of stuff. Some of that is true, but in his interactions that I'm aware of with soldiers, there is no, like, he wants to be on the exact same level, sleep on the same bunks. No,
Okay, this boss is
none of that.
a little bit tough kill from one shot because he starts moving. I did.
Did you imagine Biden was at the front line?
Hey, Vilpin, welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow.
Maybe you see Kamala Harris at the front line in Afghanistan. Could you see that?
We're done
Did you
here.
see Obama at the front line? No. You see
Are
Trump
we? Yeah, map complete.
at the front line?
And the game lagged.
78 years old. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's a very admirable thing. And if that's the thing. If people have always said the number one concern that people have with the military-industrial complex is sending young men to die in a war that's unnecessary for profit while you are in an air-conditioned office, right? That was.
Yeah, we're getting
during
closer
Fear
and
and Loathing in
closer
Las
to the
Vegas. Who
next
was it?
Citadel
McGovern?
boss.
Did McGovern say that?
Really close.
But it was a very powerful speech. He said, "I'm tired of watching these old men in air-conditioned offices send young men to die in these unnecessary wars."
Actually,
So if you're willing to be out there too, that's a very different thing. It's a very different thing.
I mean, some people make the argument that a president should moderate how much they do that because
You could die.
You could die, but it also wears on it. To make compromised decisions in the realm of geopolitics and in the realm of war, you have to have a bit of coldness. If you really feel the pain of soldiers, you may make unwise decisions.
In terms of diplomatic decisions?
Yes, in terms of, for example, you've seen a lot of people die, children die, and if you've seen enough, the idea of quote-unquote peace is a dirty word.
Right.
Like, you want justice.
Isn't that a problem right now, not just in Ukraine, but
Let me
also
just have a
Gaza?
smoke and I'll
that
come
this
back
is
in a
the
minute,
thing
boys. Don't go away. Drop a like,
sheer number of
sub
people
to the
that
channel,
died
and
that had
share
nothing
the
to do
stream,
with
of
it
course, bro.
is
I'll be happy to see that.
It's crazy. I think the most recent estimate, and they don't even know because there's so many people that are under rubble. The most recent estimate was somewhere north of 60,000 people. And how many of them are kids? Like, what's the number of kids that have been killed by missiles that had done nothing wrong? Like, what's that number? And those kids have families. And those kids have mothers and brothers and sisters and some people that lived and some people that died. And whoever makes it out of that, you want to radicalize somebody. You want to radicalize somebody to just want nothing but revenge. I can think of no better way. No better way. You know?
And here Donald Trump is tasked with going in there and trying to make peace. I think I'm pretty optimistic about just knowing the skill set of all the people involved in Israel-Palestine, in Russia, Ukraine, I'm pretty optimistic about.
I can't believe those people, those hostages are still alive.
Yeah.
How many of them are still alive now?
I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it's crazy that they were not freed sooner.
The whole thing's horrible, from top to bottom, including all the people that have decided what happened. People that are saying it was definitely a false flag, like, or these things are complicated. These things are complicated. It's definitely, like, whenever something horrible happens and someone fucked up, like someone fucked up. Israel's the most protected place on earth. It's one of the most secure countries on earth. For them to let something like that happen is just a huge fuck up. But what I had heard was that there was also a lot of troops that were stationed near where there were protests. So there was a lot of protests about Netanyahu before October 7th happened, which most people aren't even aware of. There was hundreds of thousands of people in the streets protesting Netanyahu before October 7th. So then October 7th comes, and then, you know, all of a sudden, now whenever you have any sort of military engagement, any sort of, you're at war right now, when those things happen, one of the first things that happens is all the protests and all the bullshit stops, because now a bunch of people got killed. And when anything like that happens and you are now involved in a countrywide assault on this other country, everything else gets put aside. And so the big conspiracy fear has always been, when a leader knows that they're going to get pushed out, they'll start a false flag or start a war. So they look at October 7th and they say they let that happen. Or they say they had knowledge of it, they knew it was going to happen, they knew it, but they wanted an excuse to raise Gaza. They wanted an excuse to just have a full-on bombing campaign against Hamas.
I mean, you definitely need to look at the incentives there. That is one of the concerns in Ukraine for President Zelensky. The prospect of ending the war, because right now the country's unified. If you end the war and you have elections, now you have to face a lot of the consequences internally about the potential discovery of corruption, about the suspension of democracy, about all of these things. And the same thing with Netanyahu, who, by the way, also, they want to do a 3-hour podcast with me. I talked to him before October 7th for an hour. I regret talking to him for an hour. One of the things I really learned a lot from you and from just myself, you can't do. One of the things I really don't like, what happened with me talking to Donald Trump, is like 40 minutes with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like it was a mistake. They didn't really. There was a.
I was almost willing to do that with Kamala Harris.
Well, Kamala's
entertaining. I was entertaining the 45-minute one. I was entertaining because I was like, maybe if I could just come in at a 10, just like work my brain up, like really come in and just engage with her real quick. I just wanted to get. I wanted to get loose. The problem is, like, I want to see how you are as a real person.
I think actually genuinely with you and Kamala Harris, I think 45 minutes is horrible, but I think you're so skilled and like compassionate. Just like it's fun to talk to you. I think it would just end up being much longer. That's the hope.
If that's the hope, yeah. But there would be questions though, and some questions would be very complicated, like the immigration question. Like I would say, what's happening? Like, what is happening? What do you think that there should be limitations to this? Do you think it should be stopped outright? Do you think we should round up all the people that we know that are terrorists that made it across? Are we keeping track of them? Do we know how many? Do we know what happened? Do we know why it happened? Why are people opposed to the idea of cracking down on border patrol, making more soldiers available, putting walls up everywhere? Like, what is the reason to not do this? Like, tell me what you think. And when people start talking about labor, they talking about bringing in labor and then our population is lower. Like Chuck Schumer brought that up. Talk about, like, we need workers. And I'm like, whoa. What are we saying? We don't... Is that really what the problem is? That Americans aren't willing to do jobs? And you want to bring in illegal people? How about just make legal immigration easier for poor people that are trying to get over here? How about just screen them, make sure that they're not fucking murderers, make sure they're not cartel members, and then let them in easier? Like, wouldn't that be a better way to do it, to vet people? The idea of not vetting people just doesn't make any sense at all. That would have been a problem. that conversation would have been a problem because it doesn't make any sense at all. And
Yeah, now we're touching immigration issues.
I believe in immigration.
Where did that conversation come from, man, on this podcast? Holy shit. That's why I love Joe Rogan. He talks about everything.
They actually reward people from, started from the bottom, now we're here. Like, that's a thing here. But it's that
That's going to be America soon.
Yeah, we're going to take over Canada for sure. Yeah, that needs to happen. Yeah, 51st state. Let's go. Puerto Rico's next. You got to become a real state now.
Greenland.
Puerto Rico's got a weird thing where you're allowed to not pay taxes, but you can't vote. Do you know that deal? That's the Peter Schiff deal. You don't vote, but you don't pay federal income tax. Like, all right. I think you're going to go to jail someday. I think one day they're going to fucking pull you aside and go, we changed that rule, and you owe us $4 billion in back taxes, you fucking criminal. What are you doing out here? Hanging out on this island, just stealing money.
But yeah, we definitely need legal immigration. The idea of bringing like, the best people in the world here.
Yeah.
But also, like everything talks about this, to make sure we recruit the Midwest, the farm boys, get them to like do epic shit inside, Americans.
Well, here's step one. Ramp up the fucking education system. Jesus Christ. At what point in time do we not say, how far do we have to slip down the list of like the best performing students in the world before someone comes along and says, hey, the whole thing about this place is if our kids are losers, they're going to grow up to become loser adults. Make it way easier to be a winner. What's the best way to do that? Have a way better education system. Just imagine if they completely revamped the education system in this country, just poured a shitload of money and had the wisest minds come up with a brilliant strategy for more creative ways of approaching learning, pushing people into viable pathways that maybe didn't even exist when the education system was structured. Because things have changed so much in the world. You could probably do a way better job than we're doing, which would make people come out of that. They would emerge better qualified people. So we would get more shit done in America. So America would prosper overall. GDP would grow. Everything would be better. You'd have less poverty. You'd have more. That's where they need to start. It's not just let in all the immigrants. How about fix what we got here and then expand that outward? Like, make this place the best it can be, and then expand that idea out to the rest of the world. So instead of like letting everybody walk here from third world countries because third world countries suck, expand what's better
out to the rest
of the world.
And a big part of that is actually culturally changing, accepting, celebrating, venerating meritocracy.
Yes.
So like the guy in the class, having gone to school in the Soviet Union, like, I was good at math. I was actually, believe it or not, super cool because I was good at math in class when I was like, like I was the cool kid because I was good at math. Like I was getting like
in America,
I had a girlfriend when I was young. Shut
Isn't
the
that
fuck
fun?
up,
But no,
bitch.
I think it's wrong. I think they're wrong.
Okay.
You should get violent. You should, but I think they're wrong but it's a fascinating thing to make fun of the smart kid.
Yeah. I mean,
especially math. Look at that fucking robot over there.
Science. But actually just...
Isn't that weird?
But honestly, even... Yeah, I mean, in all walks of life. Sports is a little better. We do celebrate great athletes, but there's still kind of the participation trophy thing. There's still a kind of sense where we want to help the people that aren't quite as good at a thing.
That's only with little kids, though. Sports are,
but it
one
starts
of the
there.
But
how little? Like
sports. Once kids get into like the teenage years, sports is a meritocracy.
Yes, but culturally, do we really say like this is amazing that this person is winning?
Yeah.
We do get
I
there.
want to take you to a Texas football game.
We're Texas. I mean, Texas is Texas.
This is what America should be. This is what America should be. It should all be fired up.
But not just about football.
No,
but
about all
about
kinds
like
of things.
Everything, music.
Here's
math,
the problem: football, like
physics,
quarterbacks get laid. All right, that's a handsome guy.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay,
physicists
used
in
to
the
be able to get
Soviet
laid.
Union will get a lot of pussy.
What about Feynman?
Well, he got yes.
Yeah.
But he's another
A lot of
level.
those guys were freaks, right? Oppenheimer, you saw the movie. He
Yeah.
was a freak.
Yeah.
Those guys were studs because they were the smart people, and there was a lot of grad students that wanted to fuck the professor, and that was normal stuff back then.
What the fuck is this discussion?
I don't know if they were studs in the general population.
They were studs in a way. They were like, look, Einstein was a national hero, right? There's no one like that today. There's no one scientist that's a groundbreaking research of theory of relativity where everybody's aware of it. There's nothing like that today.
We celebrate people like maybe like Neil deGrasse Tyson who are communicators of science.
Yeah, but not to the same extent. Like
Not to the same extent,
he's criticized way more than Einstein ever was. Einstein was pretty celebrated. It's just even Feynman, like for the people that knew him, like he was a cultural figure. He wasn't an obscure name. Like if you brought up Richard Feynman, most people that like watch the news and read newspapers probably know who he is.
Bro, the game is just too laggy. I don't know. Should I continue playing the map?
Say someone who's groundbreaking research with AI, or someone who's involved in quantum.
See this
computing,
network? It's just going up and down all the time.
Science communicators, you know. Brian Cox, like guys like him were great at it in terms of like space, you know, and some guys are better at it in terms of like talking about AI or talking about all the different emerging technologies, because there's so many of them. But there's no one person who's like other than Elon. But Elon's such a unique character. You can't even you can't put him in the same category as an Einstein, because he's just like a cultural weirdness. Like, who is this guy? Like, making memes, cracking jokes, dunking on people, telling people to go fuck themselves, buys Twitter, you know, it runs a bunch of different companies simultaneously while playing video games constantly. It's like, that doesn't fit in anywhere else. That's like a very unique thing that exists, this Elon Musk guy. Like, he's one of the most unique human beings in all of history.
But you can even move to like even the Jeff Bezos, who, by the way, successfully launched the first rocket yesterday.
Yeah,
which is incredible.
Amazing.
But even he gets like, I think that should be venerated.
Sure, but he's not the guy that's making he's not doing the calculations and designing and engineering the machines like Werner von Braun. So it's like what we're fascinated by today is different. It's like we're fascinated by these public figures that talk about the work that's going on, but the people that are actually doing it, there's not like one standout.
Although to say both Jeff Bezos and Elon are legit good engineers, like they just see them
for
on the
sure.
Wow, it's so big.
Yeah, for sure. But like the thing about Elon is weird. It's like he just has so many things. You get confused. Like, how can you do this? And I was talking about possibly buying TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if they would go after him if he did that. Would that be like a minute? But Bezos, or rather, Zuckerberg, they bought Instagram, right? So they have Facebook and Instagram, right? I mean, like, why couldn't you have TikTok and Twitter?
What are you talking about, monopoly-wise? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they're there. They're trying to split up Google right now.
Really?
Like to make maybe Chrome or YouTube its own business. I think
There's an argument.
there's some argument, but like
The crazy thing about YouTube is how effective it is, right? Like YouTube is, you just think it's like seems so straightforward. You just have a place where people can upload videos. Okay, that's straightforward. Everybody should be able to make one of those.
By the way,
no, there's just one.
really hard to actually pull that off on the engineering side. To be able to like,
Oh yeah.
just there's just no other place like it. To be able to pull some of data.
The scale, just the
scale's sick.
volume, the volume of fucking data that comes into their site every day.
Yeah, it just and then there's people, of course, online so criticizing YouTube for censorship, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh,
Which
it's
they
like,
should, though.
They should, but
Yeah.
like, hey, more people need to be like, this fucking thing exists. It's like Wi-Fi on the air. It's like this is there's no other platform like YouTube
No.
in terms of like the set of features, the community they create, the search and discover.
Yeah.
Do you think Apple regrets having it being one of the first built-in apps on the iPhone? That could have had a lot to do with the growth.
Well, definitely did, I'm sure.
They didn't make it, but they included it.
Right.
Okay, we're going for the next Citadel, and that's one of the
Well,
most
I
fun
mean,
ones, to be honest.
You want to have the best shit on
Okay,
your
should
phone
we
if
try
you
to
want people
craft it
buy
again?
You're kind of trapped.
I don't know.
Everybody knows
Let me
YouTube is
try
the
it.
best shit. And if you get YouTube on an Android phone natively, instantly, which you can, When
Did
you
it
get an Android
work?
phone, it already has YouTube loaded onto it. Why wouldn't you load it on an iPhone? Everybody uses YouTube. You got to pick your battles.
Got a little bit of more spirit,
That's
but that's
true.
it.
They don't have 3-minute
That would
videos.
break
You're
it down.
right. They probably didn't realize how big YouTube is going to be, right? But what they did do that's the sneakiest thing that drives me crazy is the 30%. So like if you start an app, you put an app in the App Store, the Apple Store, 30 they get 30%. Like that's crazy.
But because YouTube dominates so much, if people get censored, that's really painful. Like that's not.
Well, they're so in control of the video market.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't envy it. It's got to be an insane place to try to manage. But it's just kind of wild that no one else has been able to come up with anything even remotely close. You know, you've got Rumble; they do really well, but it's like Rumble's like a very conservative, ivermectin using, libertarian sort of space.
It's like the opposite of Blue Sky. Like Blue Sky is like.
Exactly, but there's a lot of like left-wing shows on Rumble. Rumble is essentially like a legitimate free speech platform. They don't censor left-wing views. You know, isn't Breaking Point? Are they on Rumble?
I watch them on YouTube.
Kind of close.
Right.
I mean,
but then when Amazon bought it, it's something like Twitch kind of disappeared.
It's still a thing, but it doesn't make money. It's not profitable. Which arguably neither is YouTube.
But isn't that crazy? Like if they didn't buy it, maybe it would have been because Twitch was huge.
It still is.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there's all this is what kids watch.
But a lot of kids, they stream everywhere now, right? And there's a bunch of like, is video games different? Is there like a bunch of different?
Twitch became more. It was Justin TV, and it's kind of reverted back to it. Like most of the popular stuff is IRL streaming, people walking around, going places, doing shit, streaming, doing nonsense.
That's so weird. And so, like, what is the video game stream? What is everybody?
It's still that. There's been a few other ones that have tried. People like YouTube tried to do it, Facebook tried to do it, Microsoft tried to do it.
It didn't work.
Twitch still.
No, I watch video games on YouTube.
So there's still a few there. Twitter's now tried to do it. Like the Microsoft one went away.
Yeah.
YouTube doesn't really advertise the live streaming stuff very well. Find it.
So essentially, it's just Twitch or video games. Dominant. So Twitch didn't go away. I'm just old. So it's I thought there was a bunch of new ones that were good that people were using.
When it took off, everyone sort of went back to Twitch after they.
So was that a deal where they like get like a famous streamer and they say, hey, we're gonna do some money over this new platform, and then they try to start the platform?
Yeah, and that's a good idea to buy everyone to come over. Hopefully everyone sticks. Just didn't stick.
You just think about the resources you have if you wanted to take on YouTube. Like, look if Elon decided, like, okay, we need to turn X into the new YouTube.
Well, he kind of wants to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of what but if you wanted to start a separate app, because Twitch, or excuse me, X is still mostly people exchanging information, mostly exchanging hyperlinks.
The closest thing too is like TikTok on the video. The short video clips is good. So I can see actually buying TikTok. It makes total sense and integrating into X.
Yeah.
But in terms of long-form content, it's not quite there because you have to implement all of these features. And it is engineering-wise really difficult to have that much video.
We upload hours at a time. Hours. So think about it. Like, each one of the shows is at least 2 hours, 3 hours mostly. That's so much fucking data. If you're letting everybody do that, how much are you paying for bandwidth? Like, what is that like? Because it's free, and then you have to get ads, and you have to like put, and then the ads.
Okay,
like, hey,
now we need to do.
Oh shit! All right, put up a filter.
Do I even
get
do
rid of all the
this?
fuck so that Palmolive can sell their fucking hand soap. Like, whatever it is, whoever's getting upset at us. Oh, did someone talk about the vaccine? Yeah, you can't get an ad because we're trying to sell vaccine ads. So don't be a cocksucker. Don't ruin my giant business that I've created on your data.
Let's see if I can handle it.
Not even close.
And it just shows my
Well, they nailed this.
Yes,
They made
I can.
the perfect algorithm to constantly show you things you're interested in. You know, when I go to my YouTube feed, they're right every day. Every day they're right. I'm like, oh, you're interested in that. Oh, when was that built?
Bro, I knew that's gonna happen.
Oh, is that real?
That was some
Like, it got
one-shot
me every
bullshit
fucking
happened.
day.
Yeah, I actually tweeted complaining a little bit about YouTube recently. And we had a whole meeting and stuff.
What were you complaining about?
So they have this incredible, I don't want to complain about Wi-Fi on the airplane before saying the positive. So they have this incredible feature called MLA, multi-language audio. I don't know if you know about this, but you could have multiple tracks of audio for a single podcast or video in different languages. So I had to do that for Zelensky interview. That's overdubbed into 3 languages for the different.
Did you use AI to do that, or did you hire people?
So did both, but in this case we did AI because of the voice cloning. There's something really intimate and powerful about hearing the person speak in that language. And I've just found out that, for example, on audio, people listen to the Zelensky interview. It's dubbed into English. He's speaking Russian or Ukrainian. They listen and they enjoy it. Like you could see the numbers, you could see how they write to me personal messages, how they, on Instagram stories, they're listening to it in English.
Right.
And they're able to listen to it for a prolonged period of time. Like
590, that's crazy, but
review it?
It's going to be really hard.
Listen to it, make sure the context translates.
Yeah, I'll just leave it, but yeah, it's going to be insanely hard to deal with.
That do the voice cloning, that do the translation, and what's called text-to-speech. They're incredible people. Not just the product. Actually, there's certain companies that I work with. Nothing frustrates me more than incompetence, and nothing excites me more than competence. Like, they're just sweet people.
Yeah.
By the way, like, stayed up crazy hours through the holidays. A lot of big companies take 2 months off. They're 9 to 5. They're all very polite. There's a manager of a manager, and there's meetings, and it's slow, and there's this bureaucracy. And with 11 Labs, with a lot of startups, good startups, you have this just vibrancy and kindness, and everybody is excited, all that kind of stuff. They do the text-to-speech. You have text on the page. You can speak in the Joe Rogan voice. I mean, you're aware of this. So if you want to translate, you first transcribe the original language.
Kronos Crane said DS6L6AA
on the page, and then text to speech.
Kronos Crane said this
The translation is the hardest one, where human ships around. I had time to do this, but to do it really rapidly. But we get into trouble. So, for example,
how much time did you have?
I don't remember the exact number of days, but probably 5 or 6 days to do everything. So
in 3 languages.
In 3 languages, so of course the translator was sweating because most of the sentence was Ukrainian, and then he says fuck or go fuck this war. That part was in Russian. The swear. So you have to catch all of that. If you're not making mistakes, some of it there was AI in the loop. We have to figure out because nobody really has done this kind of thing before, so we have to figure it all out. And mistakes can be made when you're rushing like this. Like I just did. By the way, me saying that could be transcribed into me saying Russian, and then it could be translated like that.
Yeah.
So, for example, he said he was talking about corruption, sensitive topic. He said something like, anybody who we caught doing something with the weapons, being corrupt, we would beat. The exact term is them on the hands. If you're speaking Ukrainian, which in Ukrainian means we'll crack down on them. That was automatically translated to slap them on the wrist, which makes sense as a direct literal translation.
Right.
Beat them on the hands, slap them on the wrist, but I didn't catch it. I'm not sleeping. I'm reading it. I speak all the languages, so I'm trying to figure out this puzzle. And then we didn't catch it, and then of course a lot of people got really mad. They spoke up. The internet in general is like, how can you translate this? Of course, it must be because I'm a Putin shill and getting funded and I'm not translating. But yeah, there could be sensitive moments. Like you had a lot of really high-profile figures here. There could be sensitive moments if translated. On the flip side, especially for important conversations. It makes it accessible to people that really need to hear it.
Why were you under such a time constraint?
Because the seriousness of the conversation, like every single day, there's major missile launches.
Right.
And
So did you? You didn't have a 5-day deadline. It took you 5 days to do it.
yes, and I don't want to sort of put it on them, but the President Zelensky's office was asking, like,
When-
as soon as possible. They were really pushing it, and they were implying, probably correctly, that there's just going to be a lot of dynamic stuff happening on the peace negotiations. So if you wanted to use this as a stake in the same, because the Kremlin watched it, so everybody's watching it. It's part of the puzzle pieces that they're using to figure out when are we going to meet, what are going to be the outlines of a treaty. So like you have to take it very seriously. But then I've learned a lot because you need to probably hire more and trust everybody involved and turn it around much quicker. You know me. In terms of production, everything, the team is one person, and then there's folks helping with editing, but it's a tiny team. There's no, and so for things like this, you have to take it seriously. You have to maybe have a special force team that kind of steps up.
Get it right. But you want to have a person
100%, but you want the translator stuff to do a good job. And one of the things we learned really quickly is you can't just get any translator. Translation is an art. It truly is. And like people were translating it. It's like open mic comedy.
Right.
It really like
Right.
I think even the same joke in the mouth of different comics would just be way different.
Right.
And the way they were translating it was cold. They were missing the points. They were not understanding the context.
No, the AI way is genius.
Yeah, but the translation piece of the AI still needs the human in the loop. It needs the human to fix it.
And how does the human emphasize emotion? Like if he has a specific intonation, if the way he's talking about, how does AI know how to say the words in translation and which ones to emphasize?
So this is where 11 Labs is really incredible, but it uses the actual words to figure out the intonation.
So so the translation of the words?
Right.
Or the original word, hearing the word?
No, it's always working on the text. So let's just stick with English for now before I say translation. Text on the page. I have a Dwight Eisenhower speech here. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies. That feels like a serious thing. Like we could probably infer how to read that. If I gave you that text, you would infer the heaviness, the timing.
Right.
And AI is pretty good at doing that. Not perfect. And you can.
Well, what if you delivered that speech like I want to know, how are they getting the would yell about stuff, then they had a translation of it in English. And so are they doing it off text, or are they doing it off the sound of the when he's saying the words and translating it? Because then you would know he's conveying a certain amount of emotion.
Okay, what we have in here?
Or are
How we
they
break down.
editing it in post?
This one we will cross
saying
because
he's got to
it
be
drops
louder
almost
here,
perfect.
He's yelling. Is a human involved
This is
in that?
really
or-
interesting. I have never
part of that. So they're setting the
this before.
hyperparameters of how loud
Yeah, this is bullshit.
is it, how dynamic it is.
And
They can change all of that, and they can change specific. They can basically
Yeah,
generate,
let's just wall all
5
of
different
them.
options for this.
1,
sentence,
2, 3.
and-
That's so crazy.
But
It's
that
so-
is an art form, right?
Yeah, but it really is so crazy that we're not going to be able to
Give
tell.
nothing.
If you
What
said
about
something.
this one?
Yeah.
Like we're kind of there.
Also nothing.
There's real cheap ones of me selling everything. I see all the time on Instagram.
But also wasted.
Like
We don't care
different
because they're
rappers and
pretty
country
useless.
western
by the way.
songs. And go to this restaurant. Like you just generate them from AI, but you can still kind of tell. But then I've seen some ones I'm sure you've seen that one, the
Bro,
one guy where it's
the
completely AI
freaking
generated
Citadel is
thing,
going to be
voice and everything,
so
and he's talking, and
dangerous.
he's
I
telling
don't
you,
know.
like, this is completely AI generated, and you
Should
probably
I
can't believe
even
this, but it's true.
invest in
He's
it
explaining
this
how it's
much?
done, and it's nuts. It's so realistic.
And I mean,
the
I should
burning
say, like,
ground
from my
modifier it
experience with
has, it's
Zelensky's
just
conversation,
ridiculous.
It's dubbed into all these
It's going to
languages,
kill
it's
me
dubbed into
instantly.
English. He's speaking Ukrainian and Russian. There's a lot of people, like I've seen this, that think he's speaking English just because it's so close. It's his voice. And so, like, now I have this responsibility. Here I am with my fucking exhausted, sleep-deprived, translating like his exact words. I could put whatever words in his mouth.
Whoa.
I could have the slap on the wrist thing. Let me just take responsibility, I guess. I fucked up. 3 hours is really tough to but like I could have, put in like I like dicks in there. Just throw it in there, just for fun.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, and it's out, and there's a lot of people that believe, like, okay, this is what he's saying.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a huge responsibility with that, and I think that's what people trust particular podcasts and so on, like, they're not going to fuck with that.
Yeah, that'd have been
responsibility.
crazy,
Right,
man,
no,
if
you're
I would do
very,
it.
aware of
Because this modifiers, they
and
will
you take
get
it very
killed me
seriously.
so fast.
Yeah, but it's still hard to decide
Is the
who
map
and
done?
how to talk to. It was really, really difficult to think through the Zelensky conversation. It's difficult to think about whether
Please?
to talk to Putin or not and how to talk to him. It's difficult to think about Benjamin Netanyahu.
I don't
to talk to him
know.
after
Okay.
October 7th. He's one of the most universally hated people on the planet now.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so how do you
Right.
talk to him?
And what do you get him to say about the innocent people that have been killed?
But he has a certain perspective, which I should say that a lot of people inside Israel probably support. It's, I mean,
Yes.
I should also say,
Let
not
me
now,
see.
but earlier in Qatar when
Lots of
Hamas
critical
was-
hit chance,
they were
bro. That's
interested
going
in
to be
doing a
insane.
podcast.
I still cannot get in. Holy shit.
The members of Hamas who are not
I
in
need
hiding.
to do one
so
of
the
those.
representatives who were interested in doing a podcast, and there I
Dude.
decided not to because
Uh,
it's like everyone knows what Hamas is. It's almost like easy. Why not do a podcast? But it was like, well, that just feels. I mean, you are platforming hate there. That's in a way where you can't properly dissect and present and analyze and push and pull.
And you can't criticize them. Like,
Right.
you're not going to be in a position where you can criticize them.
Well, I should say in Qatar it's safe. In Qatar it's safe. So there I could criticize. In fact, one of the ways I would imagine talking to Hamas is pushing them pretty hard. In that case, I would actually push hard, and they would probably, because a lot of them are kind of just are pretty shallow and insane. So like they would just get really angry. Like there would be real anger. They would knock them off. One of the deals talking is just a
oh, what's going on?
You know, my opening.
Really dangerous. I cannot like
a lot of people,
the way I used to.
a lot of people protesting.
This is way too strong.
What do you have to say to those people? Right, that's the opening thing. He says, he said something like, "Everybody loves me. I just gave a talk in Iran, and 20 million people listen to me, and they love me." So that's just like, so how do you talk to a person where the reality is like, well, no, there is people that love you, Prime Minister Netanyahu, but there's quite a lot of people outside that don't love you.
What did you expect him when you brought that up? Did you have expectations? What did you expect him to say?
I expected for him to analyze where that hate comes from, to start to empathize, fake or not, to understand that perspective. And to understand the perspective maybe of the Palestinians or the Gazans that hate him.
Right.
And then maybe make the case of Israel. After steel manning the Palestinian case, say, well, listen, we're like this tiny country that everybody's shooting rockets at. Then make the case for Israel, the historic case, the military case, the geopolitical case.
Right.
But he did. There was like everywhere. But in that answer,
do you think he really believed that?
Yeah.
He believed.
But Or, I mean, it's complicated. He's just so. That was definitely a wall.
How much more time does he have?
I mean, it's a consistent minute-by-minute thing. As long as he is being elected, and it's the same question for Zelensky. How long does he have power? Same question.
When does Israel have their elections? Are they doing that while they're in the middle of this conflict?
I'm not super familiar with like the elections. I think they can have elections at any time. Like there's coalitions. I think it's a bunch of countries have this kind of thing. So I think there's elections coming up. There might be a martial law type of situation. Forgive me, I'm not exactly sure, but it's basically under constant internal political pressure where he's going to lose power.
Are you aware at all of his political opponents?
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's a bunch of people. I mean, they have to walk the tightrope.
Undisputed best stocks in the game.
Like you said. The whole assumption is this kind of attack with the Iron Dome and the defenses, and so you have
Nice.
there's more room. There's
Got a lot of good
more
work.
radical people that are more right-wing, they're more aggressive, they're more militaristic.
Well, this is why one of the big reasons why people
Undisputed
The expedition lockpicks are amazing,
because
bro.
they find an incentive for
Very
people
lucky
to allow
this time
something to
around.
take place, because if you allow something to take place and you sacrifice a certain percentage of your population, you have
Really nice.
now new rules, and you have much more power, and you have a society that's behind you now, because there's a reason why they want to fight. And this is why anytime there's anything that ever happens, there's a bunch of people who think it's a false flag. A bunch of people think 9/11 was a false flag. And then there's real ones that we know about, like Operation Northwoods. Didn't happen, but they really did sign, Joint Chiefs of Staff signed a proposal where they wanted to blow up American airliner and blame Cuba. We wanted to arm Cuban friendlies and attack Guantanamo Bay. And they wanted to invade Cuba under false pretenses of a false flag. We really do stuff like that. Look, it's a, and I say by we, I mean humans in power. Nero burned Rome, like Hitler burned the Reichstag. There's false flags that they create these situations to force people to fight. And that's a real fact. But it's also like people call their pants down too. So it's like it's hard to know what's what. It's hard to know what's what.
But the same organization that did the whole pager thing, the sophisticated intelligence required for that, somehow missed an obvious breach of a...
right. And they were warned by Egypt. The whole thing is very, very, very tragic.
JB, just quick request. Are you tracking that Starship launch?
I know you want to watch. We've got 5 minutes.
Okay.
4 minutes. We're at 3:56. So yeah, I want to watch it. America.
Yeah.
Let's hope it doesn't blow up. Backs up. Maybe blows up while we're watching.
I don't think at this stage blowing up, I mean, it would be really awesome if it doesn't blow up, it flies and then it's caught.
Jamie, keep it up.
At this time, I mean, it's called Starship Test 7 for a reason. Like you want to learn.
Blow a few up every now and again.
So
find out what the tolerances are.
It is nice for Jeff Bezos to see it on the first try. Like the first one is really important because there's a lot of skepticism. Could this even be done? With the New Glenn rocket, but.
And now Bezos and Elon are homies again. They're expressing platitudes on Twitter.
Yeah, they're gonna sit together at the inauguration.
What, Jamie?
Well, I'm trying to check something. I'm not finding the right video.
Okay. No worries.
Where should I go? Because I tried typing SpaceX.
Yeah, be really careful. Just find the official SpaceX channel, or you can go on X.
Yeah, go on X.
Not careful. Don't go on Pornhub. That's a good one.
You can't go on Pornhub in Texas. You gotta enter in your
violation
ID.
of human rights.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Are you going to the inauguration?
Perhaps. Are you?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Really? Unfortunately? Why?
Socializing, all the socializing.
Oh, you're doing it on purpose for work?
No, I just no. Listen, I never go out to things for work. I don't work. It's more like I felt like it's an opportunity, like
to meet people.
No, like you would regret it if you didn't go. Like it's a historic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a historic moment, and
Yeah.
also George St. Pierre said he's going. So.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, I think Gordon's going too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Game is lagging again,
very
bro.
different
At this
things
key
this time around.
moments.
People are very hopeful
Couldn't
for him as
happen.
president now, which is very different than in 2016. 2016 is like this existential crisis that the media just blasted into everybody's head. I think enough time has passed and enough faith has been lost in the media that people have sort of woken up out of that and realized like we can't keep going the way we're going.
I hope the
going
good
wrong.
vibes continue in general. Like the politicization of everything
Yeah.
will not escalate quickly here.
It's possible. It's possible.
Even the inauguration itself. you know,
Yeah.
like I hope they're not. It's not a divisive event. It's more of an inspiring event.
Well, it's gonna be divisive with some people. There's no getting around that. Some people just their psychology, like that lady in the pink that was yelling, like
Yeah.
the lady that said that Pete Hegseth said that when he really didn't say it. He just published it. Someone else wrote it.
This is 37 minutes.
37. We don't have that kind of time.
This just went live. So
Just a hero SpaceX. And there it is. Is that it? Sitting and chilling.
they all say 37 minutes and counting.
Wow.
No, let's see.
Who's Felix?
These are just channels.
Oh, so a bunch of different channels are
Clicking
going.
around. There's tons of channels with it. So I was trying to find the most accurate or real one because someone could be live streaming
Right.
a fake one.
What are they live streaming though?
Yeah.
Is
All
there
sorts of stuff.
Does,
NASA
does
Spaceflight is good.
SpaceX have its own page?
That's, I just went to live on YouTube. This is where why I was bringing up the glitch. Like it's hard to find stuff that's live.
Does SpaceX have an account?
That's when I typed it in. That's when he was bringing up. You start getting all sorts of crazy shit, and I get like space. That's not them.
That's not them. SpaceX Live.
Put that in their official account.
Oh wow.
That's not.
Oh, they
NASA's
might. You know
channel.
what? SpaceX might have just closed their YouTube channel. I'm guessing, like, because they want to do it on X,
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense. So I went to there, and that's what. It's
Oh, how
not showing.
weird. How weird. So it's just a bunch of fakers pretending to be SpaceX. SpaceX. Tricking me into looking at your channel.
They're boosting the algorithm.
I guess.
You know.
So
like,
this is it.
This is an older one.
Oh, this is old.
Some of them, Everyday Astronaut.
Okay, map is complete finally.
Stream him. He's
And now we can go and do this
I feel like
freaking Citadel,
I'm not
bro.
exactly sure. But he went after Bart. What is his name? Bart
Sibrel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he?
He's really. I mean, and not went after. I should say. Just he used the opportunity to educate. Like he has this really long.
We've got to get the two of them in the same room.
Yeah, for sure. That's what he wants. He keeps being on my case. Like, I want to debate him.
Did you ever have Bart on your podcast?
No. When Bart wants to debate him, I was like, hey, do I want this? Do I?
Of course you do.
Not.
Shut the fuck up. Do it.
I think there's it's something that happened in the past. Like, what are we gonna learn from it? Say it was completely fake, right? What's the? I would rather focus on modern day conspiracies.
What? You don't want to know if they faked the moon landing?
No,
Are you crazy?
No, I do want to know, but like, okay,
to me,
how does your life change?
a lot. A lot.
Okay.
This is how.
Yeah.
Because you know
The government is able
that
to
the
do this kind of-
government is able
yeah.
to fake the fucking moon landing and
No.
to get people to shut their mouths, and a bunch of people disappeared.
Yeah, I agree
The
with you.
story is nuts, dude.
Yeah.
Do you know the story about God? What was his name? I don't remember, but he was a journalist.
Yeah, let's go for the
Who's he
Citadel,
assigned to?
and that's it for
Although I
today,
didn't
He was
probably.
assigned to do
I'm
an
really
audit
tired, bro.
of NASA, and he wrote hundreds of pages. And his analysis, this is like 1964, 65, 66, somewhere around
They
there.
have the
So it
mirror
was years
too.
before
Damn.
moon landings.
That can be challenging,
I
bro.
don't remember his fucking name. I used to have this shit.
Dude.
But he talked
Just insane shit happening.
Track. And a train smashed their car, and the document was never retrieved. It vanished. It went away. Bye-bye. And then a few years later, everyone's on the moon. Gus Grisham, the pilot of Apollo 1, the guy that burned alive in that thing, he hung a lemon on that thing, saying that it would never work. They couldn't communicate with the tower. How's this thing supposed to get us to the moon? And that guy, you know, people, his family believes he was murdered. There's a lot of weirdness in the moon landing.
See,
There's
Tim
a lot.
Dodd.
If
Tim
they
Dodd.
really did pull it off,
yeah,
and then all these people are cucking for the fucking government of the 1960s, it's kind of hilarious.
Wait, they pulled off the faking. The
of it.
faking.
Yeah.
So Tim Dodd, everyday astronaut, apparently has an answer to all of this.
Yeah.
So,
What's his answer to the Van Allen radiation belt?
there is an answer. I'm not going to turn this debate into. I don't
Cute one. Whatever it is.
the answer. See, you're
Whatever, it
skeptical.
has to be cute. Like, to send people through thousands of miles of intense radiation, have no biological animal that you've ever done that to that's come back alive, and just let's try it on people.
So let me try to convince you, as an agent of the Mossad and the CIA. I think. Okay, this is from me looking at Wikipedia for about 5 seconds. So I thought.
Did I even try doing this?
No, you can get through the top and the bottom,
right,
but you have to fly out of end.
Right.
And you really
I
can't
don't
fly.
know if it's a
And
good
then
idea.
The way we did it, we had to go through it. And we had to go through it. I think it was for a couple hours. Maybe it's possible.
And
Maybe it
we're
really
gonna
is.
find out soon, right?
Hopefully, unless they go through Antarctica. So it's like a donut. That's what it is. The intense band of radiation is like a donut.
But apparently the actual amount of radiation is not the.
Oh shit, it's tornadoes.
Again, speaking as a Mossad CIA agent.
Van Allen thought it was pretty fucking intense. And also, there was Operation Starfish Prime. Do you know about that? Operation Starfish Prime, they were trying to blow a hole through the radiation belt, so they launched nuclear weapons into space and detonated them. And it had the opposite effect, like supercharged the radiation belt, and made it more radioactive.
Yeah.
Operation Starfish Prime, Google that. What's that? Oh, yeah.
Jamie is
Anticipated.
also a
Yeah.
Mossad CIA
No,
agent.
he's right. No, he's right. But I mean, like when they measured it, it was like way more radiation. They didn't blow a hole through it at all. They fucked it up. They supercharged it. But just the fact that they were trying to do that, they were trying to blow up nuclear weapons in space. Like, if I was the aliens, that's when I would start showing up. Like, look at these fucking assholes.
High altitude nuclear test.
Yeah. What are people doing? Not only that, shut up the power in Hawaii. It fucked Hawaii up. Hawaii had like a brownout. Like, these guys are psychopaths. Can you imagine like sitting at a table with a bunch of generals and this guy comes in with a cigar? I want to launch a fucking nuke in space. I want to see what happens. I just want to see what happens. You know what my favorite one of those was? The very first detonation, the very first nuclear bomb. There was a non-zero chance that bomb was going to destroy the entire atmosphere of the Earth.
Just imagine if that blew it, right?
Yeah, and they were like, let's see.
Let's see.
Boom. Nope,
Yeah.
it's still here. They were reasonably sure that it wasn't going to do that. But, you know, you've never done that before. Who knows?
And there's a lot of people asking the question of, like, in the war in Ukraine, whether Putin is willing to use even tactical nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Just send a statement. That's an open question.
It is an open question.
And it's like a terrifying possibility. I think generationally
hell.
have forgotten what nuclear weapons are.
Right.
Like most people think
Wow,
it's like a fun
it's
TikTok.
so big.
The mushroom cloud could just, and then what happens next?
Back and forth. Now everything's gone. Everything's gone like that.
And that's why I'm excited about Starship launches, because the the backup.
Get the fuck out of here. Let's live on the sex cult on Mars.
No, I love Earth. I prefer Earth. The sex cult.
Right, but if you had to be a person who lived and Earth was gonna blow, you'd probably try it. You'd say, listen, maybe we can. Maybe I'm gonna be the fucking Davy Crockett of Mars, and then years from now this will be a mall, and everybody will remember when Lex came over on the rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really is exciting to see what kind of societies form on Mars. Even just like 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people.
What are the prospects of terraforming? Because the problem is, like, Mars is too far from the sun. Like, it's just not warm enough. Like, so what are they going to do in terms of, like, oxygen and... Do you know Terrence Howard's
Fuck.
You know Terrence Howard's theory?
Oh, no.
It's a really interesting theory. He thinks that all that instead of it being like a collection from the outer galaxy, it's that too. But what it really is, the sun ejecting after millions and millions of years, the sun ejecting matter. The matter coalesces and becomes a planet.
That was close. Not lying.
Further and further from the sun, it becomes more hospitable to life. As it gets into that Goldilocks zone where Earth is, it peoples. And that he thinks that this is happening all throughout the galaxy. That planets get to a certain stage and then they people. And then those planets are slowly going to move further and further out, away further, and get colder and colder. And it's up to these creatures to figure out how to get the fuck out of there before it becomes inhospitable. And that's where the advanced civilizations come in. And this is why the most advanced civilizations are on the planets that are furthest from the sun. Because they're the ones that adapted and figured out a way to exist off of some other form of energy other than the sun.
What, does he have an idea about what planets in our solar system might be peopled?
Probably used to be Mars.
Mars. Still or no?
No. There's not now. I mean, it's not.
Or there could,
but there could happen if there was an atmosphere.
Could be like that. No, there's water.
There could be. There's probably some sort of bacterial life, right? There's probably. The real question is there any evidence that there was other life? Like, think about how difficult it is for us to find like dinosaurs. Right? Like, dinosaurs have to become a fossil. It's a very complicated process. They have to die in mud or something. They have to get covered up and then they calcify. And if you don't know, when you get a fossil, the bone that's fossilized, it's not really that bone. What it is it's been remineralized by all the
Oh, it's so
elements.
dangerous. That's why
So
I'm
it's
trying
kind
to
of
be
a
super
different
careful.
thing,
Everything
but it's
can
in
kill
the
me.
shape of the bone.
Very
That's
easy.
fossilized bone. And what if you're talking about like 30 million years, 50 million years, 100 million years, 200 million years, a billion years? What if Mars a billion years ago had life on it? What would be left?
Nothing.
Like, Earth is 4
Yeah,
point
let's
something
get
billion
down
years
with this
old,
boss.
right? How old's Mars?
And finish
you
the
know?
stream, bro, for
How
today.
old's
That
Mars?
was an insane run.
Like,
We
is
did
Mars
2
older?
citadels back to
I
back.
believe it's older, yeah.
So thank you for being here.
So that's
Please drop a
pretty
like,
simple.
share the stream, and of course sub
Right?
to the
When
channel
did the
if
solar system
you're
start
still
forming?
watching.
Cities are guesses by a bunch of fucking eggheads. Bunch of eggheads with wild guesses. I'm going with Terrence Howard. I think he's right.
6 million damage, just like that.
I'm not saying we call him an actor. He could be
Well, he's a lot of
mathematician,
things.
physicist.
He's a lot of things. Brilliant guy.
His conversation with you, with Eric Weinstein,
And that's another 6 million or something. It just didn't show it.
some conversations are art.
He's a good guy, and Eric's a very good guy. The way he
Yes,
handles
I
it.
got 2 of them.
He was stern and very clear and obvious.
Hey,
who was
over
right,
here, check this
but
out.
very kind and very friendly, which is a quality that Eric has. Like the ability to do that, especially when you're talking about something that's so incredibly complex and esoteric. You know, like you're talking about like super complicated math. And he's
Нет,
showing it to
не
you.
в
You know how to do
депрессии.
this? Like you're showing it on the board, and you can
Просто
tell, you know,
решил
how to do this.
закончить
Let me
все
explain how this
на
works.
сегодня,
And then
чтобы
you're like,
больше не
oh,
возвращаться.
self-taught. You know,
Yeah,
this is the
I
thing.
think
Like, there's a lot
let
of
me
brilliant
see
people
if I
just
can
don't get the
sell
correct
those
education, but they're still
playing
brilliant.
gaze.
Yeah, the raw horsepower
Could
is
be
there.
good.
Yes, the raw horsepower's there. Yeah,
Both of them
but I
could
think
be
this
good,
theory
really.
that he has about planets peopling, I find it so fascinating. I couldn't stop thinking about it for days. I was like, I think he's right.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find, like, even if we discover bacteria on Mars,
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna change everything. Like, I'm convinced that there's alien life throughout even the galaxy, but that's a really open question, and most people don't think so.
You know what I think? I don't think it gets past where we are very often.
70 divines?
I think it
Fuck
probably
off, bro.
fucks
I don't
up a
believe it.
lot I think it's
Pretty
too
minds.
difficult to
I don't
harness the
know,
power
man.
of the
Is
sun
it?
while you're a tribal monkey and not
I'll
blow
leave it
yourself
for
up
3
or
then.
fuck things up horribly or just get involved in natural disasters that you
This
didn't
one will
adequately
just break
prepare
down
for.
because it's worse
I
than
mean, we're
nothing.
still not prepared at all for
This we
asteroid
got
impacts.
I mean, yeah,
from the
Younger Grass
boss.
Impact Theory, it's very recent.
Yeah, and also super volcanoes. We're not prepared at all. If we have a super volcano,
And-
Yellowstone blows, which it's gonna. One of these is gonna. One of the big ones is gonna blow. They just do. It might blow 100,000 years from now. It might blow next week. They fucking happen, and we're not prepared. We're not prepared for that.
Even
So
if you
it's-
just look at the LA fire, sorry to interrupt, like, imagine the chaos that's going to be created.
Oh, yeah, and imagine the LA fires with no fire department.
Right.
Okay, imagine that. Imagine that there's no one out there trying to put that fire out. That would be fucking insane. And you
Okay,
know,
we're good.
I think
This one, so I'll just
civilization
sell them
has
later
probably
on.
gone through a gang of those before.
So, okay,
I think
thank you for being here. Thank you
Graham
for joining
Hancock
the
is
stream, for
much as
subbing, for
equal
liking,
as I think he's
for
onto something. I think
unfortunately
Rebel
not
Cross is as
engaging
well.
that
I
much
think
in
they're
the
onto
chat,
something.
but
I think
see you tomorrow.
it's
Maybe
probably the
even
end of the
at
Ice Age.
night,
It's
after
probably
4
after
hours or
the
5
There's
hours,
too much
I'm
physical
going to
evidence
stream
that
another game called
corresponds
Fragpunk, so
with
if
the
you want to, you can
timeline
join,
for it to
and
be
it's a new
ignored. And
FPS
it's a
game.
pretty accepted
So see you later, man.
theory now, the Younger
Bye-bye.
Grass Impact theory. It's just like what happened during that time and what existed before that time, and all the stuff that we see a few thousand years later. Is that a reimagining of civilization out of complete and utter chaos? Is that